Chapter 976, What Can a Child Like Him Do to Us? Hello? Meisho spoke after answering the phone. You can guess why I called you, right? Meifeng's calm voice resounded through the phone. It's about the concert, right? Is the young master with you? Yes, he is. Can I speak with him? Meisho turned to look at Yuan, who was already gesturing for the phone. Hello, Miss Meifeng. It's been a while. Yuan said. Young master. I'm sure you already expected this even before you planned that concert, but the Yu family is demanding for you to return to the family now that they are aware of your recovery. Meifeng said. Yes, I anticipated that something like this would happen. I can even imagine their faces when they realize that I've recovered. What are you going to do now? The Yu family is already in the process of getting you back. Although the Yu family is not that threatening in terms of influence, it's their investors that you should be worried about. They won't let you get away so easily. And what are they going to do? Force me to play music again? They will most likely threaten you with legal issues and other stuff. If you refuse, they will destroy everything you own and make it so that you won't be able to survive without their help. Is that all? That's a lot more boring than what I had in mind. Yuan smiled. Meifeng was a little baffled by how calm Yuan was acting. Young master. Don't worry, Miss Meifeng. I will willingly come back to the Yu family later. It's Yu Ro's birthday today, so I am going to spend some time with her. Tell this to the Yu family. Are you really just going to return to the Yu family? After everything they've done to you? Meifeng was puzzled again. I'm sure they'll be relieved to hear such words, so yes, go ahead and tell them that I will be returning to the Yu family to work for them again. Anyways, I will talk to you again when I return, Miss Feng. Yuan hung up the phone after that sentence. Why, you're going to go back to the Yu family? Yu Ro stared at him with wide eyes. Of course not. However, if I don't tell them that, they'll try to mess with us. I'm just buying us some time. Yuan smiled. Do you need some help dealing with the Yu family? My Bai family can easily crush the Yu family for you. White Lotus suddenly asked him. Thank you for the offer, but this is a family problem that I want to deal with by myself. Anyways, let's forget about the Yu family for now. I want to focus on Yu Ro for today. Even if you say that, I don't know what I want to do. I'm satisfied with just spending time with all of you. Yu Ro sighed. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. Yu Ro, let's go on a quick adventure. Where are we going? It doesn't matter. Yuan shook his head. He then said to Meisho and the others, we're going to fly around for a bit. Sure. They nodded. Ha? Fly? Yu Ro and Xiaojingyi raised their eyebrows. Yuan suddenly picked up Yu Ro and carried her like a princess. Brother. What are you doing? She cried out loud in surprise. We're going to go on a little adventure around the city. And without explaining any further, Yuan flew into the sky. The others could hear Yu Ro screaming for her life the following moment. He's flying? Xiaojingyi watched their figures disappear into the clouds with a wide mouth. It's not your first time flying, so why are you so scared? Yuan laughed out loud. That was in Cultivation Online. How are you doing this? I'm a spirit grandmaster. No way. Anyways, let's catch up with each other. I am aware that I have been neglecting you for a while now, and I am sorry for that. Yu Ro sighed. You don't have to apologize. I have also been busy with my own training, not to mention the difference in our time zone. The two of them proceeded to tell their own experience for the past few months to each other. An hour later, Yuan and Yu Ro returned to the hotel, where they continued to chat over some food and tea. Meanwhile, Meifeng notified the Yu family of Yuan's decision. He agreed to come back to work for us? That was easier than I expected. Yu Yong was dumbfounded after hearing the news. This is a little too easy. I think he might be up to something. Let's still prepare just in case. Tang Li said. Of course, but what can a child like him do to us? He's only 18 years old, and he's lived more than half of that life as a cripple. I bet he agreed to come back because he has barely survived the last few months. He will never win against us. Yu Yong laughed out loud. Now that he can move again, he has a lot of work to make up for a decade's worth. Tang Li said. The Yu family became fully active again in preparation for their future profits. Later that night, Yuan and the others ate dinner together. Yu Rou and Xiaojingyi, the two of you can stay here tonight. We'll all return to the faction tomorrow. However, if you want, you can stay out here with your brother for a few more days. White Lotus said to them. Ha! Brother is coming back to the faction with us? I thought males aren't allowed inside. Yu Rou said. This is a special occasion. White Lotus smiled. Since brother is coming with us, there's no need to stay here for any longer. And with the recent commotion, I will feel safer at the faction, too. Yu Rou said. All right. Then we'll return to the faction tomorrow. White Lotus nodded. After dinner, Yu Rou suddenly approached Yuan and said, Brother, I want to sleep with you tonight. Sure. Yuan agreed without any hesitation. Chapter 977, Feelings. Once all of the lights in the room were shut off, Yuan and Yu Rou entered the bed together. How long has it been since we slept together? It's only been several months since you left the Yu family, but it feels like much longer has passed. Yu Rou suddenly said. Yuan turned his head sideways to look at her delicate face and smiled. You have matured a lot since the last time I saw you. I had to grow up fast now that I am living alone. Living by yourself isn't easy. I thought that I was ready because I had been able to take care of you for years without much trouble, but I underestimated it. It's actually a lot harder to take care of yourself than to take care of others. Fortunately, Jingyi is there with me, so I am not truly alone. And brother, I can also say the same to you. You've changed a lot. Well, just like you, I also had to grow up fast. I know, but you also seem like a different person. Yu Rou said. In a bad sense? Yuan raised his eyebrows. No, not in a bad sense. Before, even though you are older than me, it kind of felt like I was the older one. However, after spending a day with you, I can finally experience being a little sister again. Do you prefer the way I am now, or would you rather the old and naive me? Yu Rou pondered for a moment before speaking. Honestly, I like both versions of you. However, if I had to choose, I would definitely choose the current you. Can I ask why? However, Yu Rou shook her head in silence. That's a secret, she mumbled in a bashful voice. Due to the darkness in the room, Yu Rou's red face remained hidden. I guess everyone has their own secrets. Yuan smiled, not minding it. After a moment of silence, Yu Rou turned to stare at Yuan's face with a serious expression. Brother, I have been wanting to ask you this, but I never got the chance. Meishio. How are things between you and Meishio right now? Yuan was taken aback by this sudden question. I mean, the two of you have been living together for a while now, and you even got to spend a few months living together inside a small apartment. As two young adults, you must have made some progress in your relationships, right? I don't get what you're trying to ask, Yuan pretended to be oblivious. However, Yu Rou wasn't having any of it and continued, Don't lie to me, brother. Meishio is a very attractive and beautiful woman, and she has been taking care of you ever since you left the Yu family. The two of you are even around the same age. There's no way that you don't have any feelings for her. There's really nothing between us, Yu Rou. Yuan showed her a bittersweet smile. Brother! I might have believed you if you were still as naive as before, but you're different now. I am also different. I have matured as your sister and as a woman. I can tell that there's something between the two of you. Seeing the expression on Yuro's face at this moment, Yuan released a low sigh. All right, I will tell you the truth. Indeed, Meishio is an attractive woman. After all, she's managed to charm me. I knew it. Yuro exclaimed. How far have you gotten with her? Have you confessed yet? Yuan responded with a stiff smile on his face. Actually, we're already way past that point. Ha! Yuro's eyes widened. So you're already partners? Like the boyfriend and girlfriend kind? Yes. Yuan nodded. I see. I have to admit. I truly didn't expect this, she muttered in a dazed voice. After a long moment of silence, she asked him, What about Lulu? She likes you too, right? What are you going to do about her? About that. She's also my partner. What? Yuro jumped off the bed after hearing this shocking information. How can Lulu be your partner when you already have Meishio as your partner? Don't tell me. You're two-timing them? What? No. I am not two-timing anyone. Yuan quickly said. Not wanting the misunderstanding to deepen any further, he explained to Yuro the whole situation. Meishio and Lulu are both my partners, and they are both aware of it. I couldn't just accept one of them and abandon the other, so I decided to accept both of them. They also agreed to this. Yuro's jaw dropped to the floor after learning the truth. My brother has a harem. Yuro fell to the ground on her knees. Yuro? Are you okay? I thought I was mature enough to handle the truth, but alas, I have overestimated myself once again, Yuro said to herself in a dispirited voice. The room fell completely silent afterward. Many moments later, Yuro stood up and said to Yuan, Brother, I will be right back. Don't you dare leave this room until I come back. And without explaining any further, Yuro left the room. Yuan had an idea where Yuro went, so he didn't bother chasing after her. Sometime later, Yuro knocked on the door to Meishio's room. Yuro? What's the matter? I thought you were going to sleep with Yuan. Meishio asked her. We need to talk. Yuro said as she entered the room. Meishio was puzzled by the situation, but she could tell that Yuro seemed frustrated at something. Once she closed the door, Meishio approached Yuro and asked, What's wrong? Yuro did not immediately respond and merely silently stared at Meishio's confused face. After a moment of silence, she finally spoke, Meishio, I know everything. Brother told me the truth about your relationship with him and Lulu. Meishio's eyes widened. Chapter 978, All the Way. Don't worry, I'm not angry. Yuro said after seeing Meishio's worried expression. You guys wanted to keep it a secret from me because you didn't know how I would react, right? Thank you for your concerns, but I can handle myself. However, I would be lying if I said that I am not shocked by the results. Anyways, I came here because I have some questions that I can only ask you since it would be too embarrassing to ask my brother. First of all, how long has this been happening? Meishio pondered for a moment before speaking, sometime after we moved out of Xiaojingyi's apartment. Then my second question. How far have you guys gone? Have you kissed yet? Yuro asked in an anxious manner. Meishio swallowed nervously. She didn't dare to respond without thinking about it first, as this could break Yuro's spirit. Should I lie to her and say that we've only kissed, or should I tell her the truth that we've gone all the way? You're not going to lie to me again, are you? Yuro suddenly said with narrowed eyes. I have forgiven you for lying about my brother being hospitalized, but I won't forgive you if you lie to me this time. Seeing Yuro's stern face, Meishio sighed, We have kissed. In fact, we have already gone all the way. What? Yuro was taken aback by Meishio's words. It took her a moment to comprehend the meaning behind Meishio's words, but when she finally understood the true meaning, Yuro's face flushed with redness. Why you've gone all the way? Like. All the way? Yuro wanted confirmation, as she hoped that it was just another misunderstanding. However, Meishio said, yes, we've gone all the way, we had sex. Yuro started stumbling backward until she fell on the bed, where she would quietly lie down and stare at the ceiling with a dazed look on her face. After a whole minute of awkward silence, Yuro spoke, Lulu. Did he also do it with her? Yes. Meishio answered without hesitation. I see. So you guys have finally done it. Good for you, Meishio. Huh? Meishio raised her eyebrows. Yuro sat on the bed and said, you've always liked him, right? The only reason you started working for the Yu family is so that you could be with my brother. Now that your dreams have come true, what are you going to do next? We haven't planned that far yet. Meishio shook her head. Yuro turned silent again. Are you okay, Yuro? Meishio suddenly asked her. What makes you think that I am not okay? Yuro looked at her. I mean, you also like him, right? Of course. He's my precious brother. You know that's not what I mean. Meishio said. A bittersweet smile appeared on Yuro's face as she spoke. Why are you asking me that? Don't you want to be with Yuan? If it's you, I wouldn't mind having you in our family. I think Lulu will also say the same thing. Meishio said. What? Are you crazy? There's no way we can be partners. He's my brother. Yuro exclaimed. Yes, but that is only in name. You're not actually blood related, so there's no problem. There's plenty of problems. Although we may not share the same blood, we have lived most of our lives as siblings. He will definitely reject such an idea, and that will destroy our current relationship. I don't want that to happen. Yuro. Thank you, Meishio. I understand your feelings, but you do not need to be concerned about me. Just like how you figured things out with him by yourselves, I am also going to do the same. Anyways, it's getting late. I'm going to go to sleep. Yuro left Meishio's room and returned to Yuan shortly after. I didn't think that you'd return. Yuan said to her. Why would you think that? Yuro said as she entered the bed. You're not angry? What's there to be angry about? I'm only a little frustrated that you tried to hide the truth from me, that's all. Sorry. Brother, can I hug you? She suddenly asked. Of course. Yuro moved closer to him and treated his body like a hug pillow. I'm going to sleep like this. Good night. Good night. A few minutes later, Yuan could hear Yuro sobbing. However, he decided to not say anything and pretended to be asleep. Yuro also didn't say anything and kept on crying until she fell asleep. The following morning, they both acted as though last night never happened. Good morning. Yuro said to him. Morning. After doing their morning routine, Yuan and Yuro went to eat breakfast with the others. Although none of them said anything about last night, Shuliuxian, Xiaojingyi, and White Lotus could sense something off about the atmosphere. In the end, breakfast ended up feeling a little awkward, mostly because it was a little too quiet. Are you guys ready to leave? It'll be a 2-hour ride to the faction. White Lotus asked them. Yes, we're ready. Once everyone was in a car, they started driving towards the Eternal Lotus's headquarters. Their journey to the headquarters was as quiet as breakfast, but it lasted twice as long. It was obvious to Chu Liuxiang and the others that something had happened to the siblings last night, but nobody there dared to ask. Upon arriving at the Eternal Lotus's headquarters, White Lotus said,
I should have probably mentioned this before we came here, but I kind of forgot about them.
We actually have a few guests staying here at the moment, and they're all looking for you. Me? Yuan raised his eyebrows. I got ahead of myself after our meeting in Cultivation online and bragged about it to some people. I'm really sorry.
But I didn't tell them anything about our conversations.
I swear. White Lotus lowered her head and apologized. Yuan smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. I'll entertain them for a bit if they approach me." Thank you.
They all entered the Eternal Lotus's headquarters shortly after.
Chapter 979, Visiting Eternal Lotuses. Before entering the Eternal Lotus's headquarters, Yuan wore a mask on his face. Why are you wearing a mask now? Yu-Ro couldn't help but ask him. I don't want to ruin your life in this place. From this point forth, I will be Yuan, not Yu-Tian. He said. I don't care if people find out that you're my brother. In fact, that's something I can brag about.
I'm only doing this because of the legacy families. They're a bunch of annoying people that you don't want to deal with, and I am trying to save you from them.
A bunch of annoying people, White Lotus sighed inwardly after hearing his words.
As she was from a legacy family, she couldn't help but feel like she was part of these annoying people. However, she couldn't refute such claims either, as she found other legacy families to be pretty annoying as well.
Welcome back, Leader by Eldarine. Welcome to the Eternal Lotus's guests.
The disciples at the front gate greeted them. They didn't immediately realize that there was a man amongst their group because Yuan was wearing a mask, and he had long hair tied into a ponytail. Although his body structure was larger than the ladies there, it wasn't enough to raise any suspicions.
Is there anything you want to see first, or should I just give you a tour around our faction? White Lotus asked Yuan after they entered the faction.
I'll let you decide where we go. I just want to see what Yu-Ro's life has been like for the past few months.
I understand.
Then let's do a walkthrough of our disciples' daily routine.
There should still be some disciples doing morning training right now.
Yuan nodded, and they proceeded to follow White Lotus around the faction, starting from the area where most disciples go to train. White Lotus would give them a brief explanation of the place while Yu-Ro would recall her experience there. The disciples there eventually realized that there was a man amongst them, and rumors quickly began to spread like wildfire.
Did you hear? Senior Bide brought a man into the faction. What? This is the first time a man has stepped foot inside this place since its founding.
I heard that not even Leader Bai's father could enter this place. Who is this man that she finds more important than her own father? I couldn't get a look at his face because he was wearing a mask, but I swear I heard Leader Bai addressing him as Yuan.
What? It must be player Yuan.
I heard that she had an encounter with him in Cultivation online.
They probably agreed to meet in real life. Oh my! This is so exciting.
Meanwhile, in one of the guest rooms, Fiery Queen overheard some of the disciples in the hallway talking about Yuan.
What? Player Yuan is here? That crafty bitch. No wonder why she's been gone for the last few days. She actually snuck out to meet him. And she even lied to me about it. She left her room shortly after to look for White Lotus and Yuan. Sometime later, Fiery Lotus found them resting under a pavilion. What do you think of my faction? White Lotus asked him as they sipped on hot tea.
It's very peaceful here, and the disciples are full of enthusiasm. Honestly, I feel a little embarrassed to even call my place a faction after seeing how organized this place is.
It's more like a home than a headquarter. I think most factions are like that.
Only those with enough funds and reputation dare to build such a large headquarter.
White Lotus said. Suddenly. Excuse me. You can't go in there.
Someone there said in a nervous voice. White Lotus turned around to see Fiery Queen approaching them with a nonchalant expression on her face.
Yuan, that's Sasha Walker's, also known as Fiery Queen.
She's a top 10 player in Cultivation Online, and she's from the Walker's family that is ranked 10th in the legacy ranking.
White Lotus quickly introduced her to Yuan. Once she arrived before their table, Fiery Queen combed her short orange hair with her fingers and spoke, "Are you really player Yuan?" Feeling her sharp gaze, Yuan smiled and nodded. "How can I help you, Miss Walkers?" "Oh? You know about me? I only know of your name." "I see. Well, I don't like beating around the bush, so I am going to ask you directly. Join my Walkers family, player Yuan. What can you offer me?" Yuan didn't immediately reject her offer. Is this what he meant by entertaining them? White Lotus wondered inwardly. "I will double, no, triple what the Bai family has offered you." "Are you sure you can afford it?" White Lotus could no longer remain quiet now that Fiery Queen brought her family into the conversation. "Your Bai family may be higher in the legacy rankings, but my Walker's family is ranked second in terms of wealth. Tell me, what did your Bai family offer him to join your family?" Fiery Queen asked. White Lotus smiled and said, "Actually, we didn't offer him anything." "What?" Fiery Queen's eyes widened with disbelief. "Why you think I would fall for such a cheap trick? Why would he come here if you didn't pay him?" "It's true," Yuan said. And he continued, "Neither the Bai family nor White Lotus has asked me to join their family. I am here on my own accord. In fact, I was the one who requested to be here." "And no way. Why would you do such a thing? Aren't you aware that every legacy family is trying to acquire you? If you do something like this, it's only natural for people to think that the Bai family had bought you." "I have my own reasons for being here," Yuan calmly said. Fiery Queen gritted her teeth in frustration. "Is he here because of White Lotus? Did he get charmed by her? This is bad. At this rate, the Bai family will acquire him. What can I do in this situation?" Chapter 980, Fiery Queen's Offer. "See, since the Bai family hasn't offered you anything, then allow me to offer you to join the Walker's family." "What do you want?" "As long as it's something that money can buy, we will give it to you," Fiery Queen said to him after pondering for a moment. "Sorry, but there's nothing I want," Yuan calmly responded. "What? That's not possible. Everyone has something they desire." "Indeed, that is true. However, what I want cannot be purchased with money. You won't know until you try. Love, happiness, fame, anything can be bought. Tell me what you desire and the Walker's family will do everything in its power to acquire." After a moment of silence, Yuan spoke in a calm voice. "If I say that I want the Walker's family, will you be able to hand it over to me?" That's. Fiery Queen was dumbfounded by Yuan's question. "What's wrong? Why are you hesitating? Didn't you say that you would give me anything? Or are you going to ask me to not be so greedy?" "I'm sorry, but I don't think we can fulfill such an unreasonable condition. Anything else but that, please." Yuan shook his head. "Sorry, but I was only joking. I don't plan on joining any legacy family, so you can stop asking." "Can I ask why?" "You would gain a lot of benefit if you joined us. Or do you plan on creating your own family?" Fiery Queen narrowed her eyes at Yuan. "I have no interest in the legacy ranking. As for why I don't want to join any legacy families, I don't want to break the current balance," he said. "I don't want to sound arrogant, but if I join any family, even the lowest ranking family, it would immediately break the balance, and I'm sure nobody wants that to happen." Breaking the balance. Both Fiery Queen and White Lotus frowned upon hearing this, as neither of them had thought about it like this until he mentioned it. He's right. If someone like him joins the legacy ranking, the family he chooses will immediately become the most powerful and influential family in the legacy ranking regardless of their previous rank. White Lotus thought to herself. The other legacy families will probably work with each other to destroy such an unbalanced family.
In other words, the moment he joins a legacy family, there will be a war, Fiery Queen sighed. As much as she wanted to acquire Yuan for her family, she did not want to fight with the other legacy families simply because they had him. After pondering for a few moments, Fiery Queen smiled and said, "Very well, I will give up on trying to recruit you. However, I have another proposal. While it's true that the other legacy families won't be happy if we pay to acquire you, they won't have anything to say if you marry into our family." She pointed at herself and said, "If you marry me, that will solve everything."
What nonsense are you saying?
White Lotus slammed the table, startling everyone there.
Nonsense? I think it's quite ingenious.
Fiery Queen said in a prideful tone.
Yuan, forget about her. She's a lost cause. Wait. I was only joking.
Fiery Queen suddenly said.
And she continued, "Here's my real proposal. Instead of asking you to join our family, I will pay for your assistance." Can you elaborate? Yuan asked. Basically, I want to hire you. And what kind of job do you want me to do?
I'm not sure yet, but we'll probably ask for you to do something for us in Cultivation Online.
Maybe even train some of our players. If that's too much to ask, then I buy information from you instead, information about Cultivation Online. Yuan pondered about Fiery Queen's offer.
Although I can acquire money by selling Cultivation Online treasures like last time, I will be going to the third heaven soon, and that will make it difficult for me to use their auction house, especially since I will be busy traveling the world. However, if I can sell information about Cultivation Online, I can earn money just by telling them about my experience in Cultivation Online, which is essentially free money.
How much are we talking about? Yuan then asked. That will depend on the information you give us.
We will give you a fixed price for each information you give us, and then we will pay you a bonus depending on its usefulness.
How does that sound? In other words, if my information helps you acquire treasures or other valuables, you will pay me extra? Exactly. Fiery Queen nodded. Sure, I don't mind if it's just selling information. Yuan agreed. Yes. Fiery Queen celebrated inwardly. Leave your contact information with me and I will contact you later. Yuan then said. Of course.
Fiery Queen immediately handed Yuan her business card.
Then I await your call. Thank you. Fiery Queen left the place shortly after.
As much as she wanted to linger and talk more with Yuan, she didn't want to push her luck.
If you don't mind me asking, why did you agree to working with her? White Lotus asked him afterward. It seemed like an easy way to earn money, so why not?
If things don't work out, I can stop working with her whenever I want.
Yuan said. Are you, by some chance, having money problems?
She couldn't help but ask him.
Yuan chuckled. It's embarrassing to admit it, but yes, I'm actually quite broke right now.
I plan on selling some treasures that I'd found in Cultivation Online in the future, though.
A flicker appeared in White Lotus' eyes after hearing his words, and she quickly said, if you don't mind, can you sell these treasures to my family? Are you sure? You don't even know what kind of treasures they are. We can figure these things out later. Sure. Once I return home, we can meet in Cultivation Online. I will show you the treasures then. Yuan nodded. Thank you.
White Lotus said excitedly.
Chapter 981, Staying Overnight. After their break ended, Yuro asked, Brother, would you like to see my room? Sure. Sometime later, they entered Yuro and Xiaojingyi's room. What do you think? She asked him.
It's exactly as I expected it to be, neat and clean.
Yuan smiled. Once they looked around the room, Yuro suddenly asked, Will you be staying with us tonight?
I don't want to bother White Lotus and this place any longer, so I will return to the hotel.
Yuan shook his head. Actually, it's fine if you want to stay here overnight.
We have plenty of guest rooms, and it would be more convenient if you intend to spend more time with each other tomorrow.
White Lotus said. Are you sure? I don't want to intrude any more than necessary. It's fine, really. Then I'll accept your offer. Great. I'll have your rooms prepared right away. White Lotus left the room shortly after. By the way, I have something really important to tell you later. Yuan said to Uro a moment later. I don't like the sound of that. Is it bad news or good news? Uro frowned slightly. Well, it's not really bad news, but it's not good news either. It's about cultivation online and how it affects our lives. I don't get it. I'll explain it once White Lotus returns. All right.
White Lotus returned to the room about 5 minutes later. I have arranged your rooms for tonight, she said to them.
Thank you. Anyways, now that you're here, let's continue our conversation.
I wanted to tell you guys at the pavilion just now, but Fiery Queen interrupted and I'd rather keep this between us. Yuan removed his mask and looked at White Lotus with a serious gaze. What I am about to tell you is highly confidential, so please keep it a secret even from your family. If it's leaked to the public, there will be an outcry, and who knows how the people will react to it. My lips are sealed no matter what you say from this point forth.
White Lotus nodded.
Good, now listen carefully. After taking a deep breath, Yuan proceeded to tell them the truth about Cultivation Online and the connections it has with their own world. Although Uro and Xiaojingyi already knew that treasures inside Cultivation Online affected their real bodies, this was news to White Lotus, who was shocked speechless even before the grand reveal. The world of Cultivation Online, also known as Nine Heavens, truly exists in this universe somewhere, and our world, Earth, used to be part of the Nine Heavens before it was split. Wait, White Lotus had to stop him, as she was unable to comprehend all of it at once.
The Nine Heavens is a real world? How does that work?
The consoles that we use to enter Cultivation Online actually transfers a part of our soul to the Nine Heaven, and using another method, it creates our character with our soul. The reason we don't die when we die inside Cultivation Online is simply because we didn't experience true death. When we die, our character will transform back into its soul form.
This is also why some people lose their ability to cultivate after dying.
Their soul had probably sustained too much damage, crippling them for real.
Furthermore, this is why we are stuck with one character no matter whose console we use to play Cultivation Online.
Uro and the other two stared at Yuan with their eyes as wide as saucers.
No way. Why would they do such a thing?
Uro muttered in a dazed voice. I don't know, but I plan on finding out the truth.
Yuan said.
However, now that you know your character is actually your soul, please do your best to avoid getting damaged, as it could damage your soul. Your soul is basically your spirit, your very existence. If it's damaged, you'll turn into what they call a vegetable. And if your soul is destroyed, you basically die without any chance of reincarnation.
If this is true, shouldn't we warn the public so that they could stop acting so recklessly in Cultivation Online?
White Lotus asked. Yes, but there's a good chance that a lot of people will stop playing Cultivation Online. I don't know what the Celestial Emperor has planned, but it clearly needs a lot of people. If a large number of people suddenly stop playing, who knows what the Celestial Emperor might do next?
Yuan said.
And he continued, a good portion of our soul is already trapped inside in the Nine Heavens. We're all basically held hostage by the Celestial Emperor until we can go to the Nine Heavens with our real body.
But how are we going to travel to a place that we can't even locate? Uro asked. I already have a clue. I just need some time to figure it out.
If you really want to warn people about the dangers of being heard in Cultivation Online, then you must do so without revealing the truth to them.
Yuan said to White Lotus a moment later. I understand. I will do my best. I don't want my family or the disciples of my faction to suffer because of this. Thank you for telling me the truth, Yuan. I will be seeing Cultivation online in a new light now.
Later that night, White Lotus approached Yuan and said to him, I have spoken to my father about buying your treasures in Cultivation online, and he has agreed to it.
If you're not busy, we can do it now. But if you insist on doing this later, I can wait. Let's do it now.
Yuan nodded, and he continued, I will meet you at the same place as last time in a few hours.
Great. We have plenty of unused consoles. You can use one of those. Then I will see you later. Once he had a console, Yuan laid on his bed and entered Cultivation online. Chapter 982, A Pile of Treasures. Welcome back, Brother Yuan.
Xiaohua greeted him when he entered Cultivation online.
Are we ascending the stairway to heaven soon? Feng Yuxiang asked. No, not yet.
I am only back temporarily to sell some treasures.
Yuan shook his head.
With that being said, it should be long before I challenge the stairway to heaven. I still have some business that requires my attention. Sometime later, Yuan arrived at the restaurant with the musicians, where he'd first meet with White Lotus.
Yuan.
White Lotus waved at him from her table. Of course, she was surrounded by young men that were trying to hit on her again. When these young men saw Yuan, they sneered in disdain.
However, when Yuan released some of his aura, these young men started running for their lives.
This isn't an appropriate place to show my treasures, but I still want to enjoy this place for a bit before we start our business.
Yuan said to her. No problem.
I was also thinking that we could enjoy the music for a while before our business. After ordering some food and tea, the two of them quietly enjoyed the performance at the center of the restaurant.
About an hour later, White Lotus asked him, where should we go to do our business?
We can just rent a hotel somewhere and do it there, he calmly said.
That sounds good.
Once they finished their meal and were satisfied with the entertainment, the two of them rented a room at a nearby hotel.
All right, here are all of the treasures that I am trying to sell.
Yuan proceeded to dump all of the treasures he had acquired from the Gu family and the Blood sect. White Lotus stared at the large pile of treasures on the bed with wide eyes. There were so many treasures that the table wouldn't fit them, hence the bed.
This is a lot more than what I had in mind, she muttered in a dazed voice.
The amount of treasures before her eyes at this moment is more than what her family and faction has collected since the beginning of the game, combined.
How on earth did he acquire so much treasure? It's almost as though he'd robbed an entire sect. White Lotus was in disbelief. Take your time,
Yuan said to her as he took a seat at the table and started studying array symbols.
What are you doing? She couldn't help but ask. I'm studying array symbols. They're more important and widely used than I realized.
After a moment of silence, she spoke again, Yuan, this amount of treasure is too much to look through by myself.
If you don't mind, can I have some assistance?
My most trusted bodyguard, Jasmine, and my father happen to be in this city as well.
Of course, it wasn't a coincidence.
She had them prepared just in case anything were to happen.
Sure, I don't mind, Yuan casually said. Thank you. I will contact them right away. White Lotus logged off for a couple of minutes before returning. Sometime later, Jasmine and Bai Mangyao showed up at the hotel. It's a pleasure to see you again, Yuan.
Bai Mangyao greeted him with a bright smile.
Hello, Mr. Bai. Sorry to bother you this late. It's not a bother at all. He laughed.
Then the treasures are on the bed.
Take your time.
This is, Jasmine and Bai Mangyao were stunned by the amount of treasures there even though White Lotus had already warned them about it through the phone. I thought she was exaggerating when she called it a pile of treasures, Bai Mangyao cried inwardly.
Let's get to work, shall we? White Lotus said to them.
Thus, the three of them started looking through the treasures one by one while Yuan focused on his erase symbols. Although Yuan didn't pay any attention to White Lotus and her group because he trusted them, the beings within his body kept a close eye on their every movement just in case they had any funny ideas. About an hour later, Bai Mengyao wiped the sweat from his forehead and sighed in a nervous voice, "Most of these treasures are Earth grade and Heaven grade. If I have to be honest, this will bankrupt us if we try to buy all of them."
I know, White Lotus sighed.
The two of them had planned on buying all of Yuan's treasure before, but after seeing just how many treasures were available, they immediately gave up such a thought. "Although I already know what I want, I am going to look through them again just in case,"
White Lotus said a moment later. "Me too."
Thus, they started examining the treasures again.
An hour later, White Lotus returned to Yuan and said to him, "We're ready." Yuan nodded and stopped studying array symbols.
"We'd like to purchase these treasures." Bai Mengyao placed all of the treasures they wanted to buy on the table before him. There were a total of 52 treasures, and most of them were Earth grade with a couple of Heaven grade treasures.
"Sure." Yuan nodded without even checking the treasures.
"For the pricing, in order to make this as far as possible, we will use the CO player auctions for reference.
If you have any objections, please let us know." "I don't mind," Yuan said. "Great."
Most Earth grade treasures sell for $10 million to $100 million nowadays, and Heaven grade treasures cost anywhere between $200 million and $400 million depending on its grade and usefulness. We have 42 Earth grade and 10 Heaven grade treasures.
We will let you decide the price for each of them. Yuan glanced at the treasures and said, "How about 2 billion for all of them?" "Ha?"
They looked at him with wide eyes.
"Is that too expensive?" "I don't mind lowering." "And no. That's not it. It's actually cheaper than we thought."
Bai Mengyao quickly interrupted.
"It's a discount. Consider it as my gratitude for the past few days. If you want, you can go pick out some more treasures." Yuan said to them. "Are you sure?" "We don't want to take advantage of you," White Lotus was hesitant. "It's fine." Yuan nodded with a smile.
After all, these treasures were all useless to him, and he wanted them to feel indebted to him just in case he needed their help in the future.
Chapter 983, Sparring with White Lotus.
Once they received Yuan's approval to buy more treasure from him at a discount, the Bai family returned to the bed and started picking out even more treasures to purchase. In the end, they decided to just buy all of his treasures.
"How much do you want for all of these treasures?" Bai Mengyao asked him. Yuan looked at the treasures and pondered. There were 201 treasures in total. How does 10 billion sound? You can easily get 10 billion back and then some more if you decide to sell them afterward. Bai Mengyao pondered for a moment before nodding, "Deal. I'll buy all of your treasures for 10 billion. "Great. It's a pleasure doing business with you." Yuan shook his hand. "You can give my daughter your bank information later. We'll send you the money as soon as possible.
It'll take 3 days minimum, but we should have it sent over by tomorrow,"
Bai Mengyao said. "Take your time." Yuan nodded. "As for the treasures, you can take them now." "Are you sure?" "We can wait until the payment is through," White Lotus said. "It's fine. I want to get rid of them as soon as possible, anyway. They're taking up too much space."
Bai Mengyao swallowed nervously after seeing how casual Yuan was being with these treasures, almost as though he was just getting rid of trash in a garage sale. Although Earth grade and Heaven grade treasures are incredibly valuable to other players, they could be considered trash in Yuan's eyes. In fact, he still has several Divine grade treasures that he plans on selling in the auction house, where he will definitely fetch more money than selling it to the Bai family.
"Once again, thank you for selling these treasures to us. I will make sure they're all put to good use."
White Lotus bowed to him in a respectful manner. Yuan logged off the game and called Wang Ming shortly after.
Hey, get on Cultivation Online and meet me at the city square. I have some things for you. Yuan said to him. Sure thing. Sometime later, Yuan met up with Wang Ming at the city square. Hey, how did your sister's birthday go? And when do you plan on coming back?
The mansion feels empty without your presence.
Wang Ming asked him. The birthday went pretty well, but it wasn't entirely smooth sailing.
Don't worry, it's already been taken care of.
As for when we'll return,
I'm not sure, but it shouldn't take more than a week.
I understand. I won't ask for any details now, but make sure to tell us about it when you get back. Anyways, what do you have for me?
Yuan handed him a spatial ring and said, I want you to sell these treasures in CO player auctions.
You mean that online auction house that all of the big families use? I heard their popularity skyrocketed after you sold an item there. Wang Ming recalled.
Yes, and make sure to tell them that these treasures are from me.
They'll treat you better that way. I'm a little scared to look at the inside. Oh, do you want me to sell them one by one or all at once? Wang Ming then asked. You'll get more if you sell them one by one.
They're all divine-grade treasures, after all.
Divine? Wang Ming exclaimed in a shocked voice, before covering his own mouth.
The last time a divine-grade item was sold on that platform was when you sold that zither.
And that was only a low-quality treasure.
All of these are high-quality treasures, so they should be able to fetch 1 billion with ease.
Yuan smiled. I see. When do you want me to sell them? Wang Ming proceeded to ask. Whenever you want.
I just earned 10 billion selling the other treasures, so I am not in a rush to earn more money right now.
10 billion? What the hell did you sell to earn that much money? Forget it, I don't even want to know. Wang Ming shook his head. Anything else you want me to do? He then asked. Give the others one ring. Yuan proceeded to hand him 6 spatial rings. Are these? Yes, they're resources that will support you while I am gone. Once again, I am a little scared to see the inside, Wang Ming sighed. Wait. Why are there 9 rings? Since Li Jinsi will be following you, we only have 6 people.
One of them is for my friend who will be joining us soon. The other 2 rings are for my sister and her friend. Give it to them when you have the chance.
I understand. Yuan logged off Cultivation Online shortly after and went to rest.
The following day, Yuan proceeded to spend the entire day watching Yuro live her life as a disciple of the faction. During his second day at the faction, Yuro decided to challenge Yuan.
Please spar with me.
Yuro said to him with a serious look on her face.
Sure. Yuan nodded without hesitation. And don't you dare go easy on me. I won't.
Yuan smiled behind his mask. With nothing but a wooden sword in his grasp, Yuan proceeded to smack Yuro around until she could no longer stand back up. The fight was so one-sided that it looked almost comical.
I know I said to not go easy on me, but did you have to be so brutal? Ah.
I can't feel anything but pain right now, Yuro complained after the spar ended a few minutes later.
This is how I normally train with the people in my faction. And I didn't hit you that hard. You're exaggerating. Exaggerating? Look at my hand. It's already bruised. Yuan laughed, it'll heal in a few hours. Now that I think about it. This is the first time that you've hit me. Yuro said a moment later. Ha! This doesn't count. It's a spar. Whatever. I'm too exhausted to deal with you now.
Suddenly, one of the disciples there approached Yuan and bowed to him. Excuse me.
Senior Yuan. Can I also request a spar with you? Yuan looked at this cute and delicate girl and nodded, sure.
Sometime later, shortly after his second spar ended, a third followed, and this would continue until Yuan had sparred with everyone there. "Thank you for the spar, Senior Yuan," the last disciple to spar with him said as she laid on the floor.
"Thank you for sparring with me." Yuan nodded.
"After seeing you spar with so many people, I am starting to feel like sparring with you too, even though I know that I will lose," White Lotus said with a bittersweet smile on her face.
"If you want to spar as well, I won't mind." Yuan offered his wooden sword to her. White Lotus looked at the sword with a nervous look on her face.
"If I lose to him before so many disciples, I will definitely lose some face, but if I don't fight him, the others will think that I am a coward."
"Either way, it's my loss," White Lotus sighed inwardly.
In the end, White Lotus accepted the sword and agreed to spar with Yuan. "Even if I lose to him and lose some face, it's a lot better than being labeled a coward," she thought to herself.
Chapter 984, Leaving Eternal Lotuses. "Good luck, Senior Bai." "Good luck, Senior Yuan."
The disciples cheered for them as they entered the sparring area.
"Ready whenever you are,"
Yuan said to White Lotus, who stood a couple meters away with a serious expression on her face.
"Here I come,"
White Lotus announced right before she approached him with a wooden sword.
Yuan calmly and casually dodged the attack, but White Lotus immediately followed up with a second strike. Thud! Yuan effortlessly blocked it with his wooden sword. Not bad.
He swung the sword, forcing White Lotus to retrieve several steps.
What tyrannical strength! It only looked like he had causally moved his sword, yet it felt as though I had been struck by a large hammer. White Lotus was shocked after experiencing Yuan's strength for the first time.
Although she was aware of his prowess, it was a whole different story to experience it firsthand.
"Are you okay?" Yuan asked her when she stopped moving.
"Sorry, I lost focus for a second."
"It won't happen again."
White Lotus tightened her grip on the sword and proceeded to attack Yuan again. The disciples that had been cheering at the beginning quickly stopped when they realized how one-sided the fight between Yuan and White Lotus was. "I thought Senior Bide would be able to pressure him even if it's just a little, but looking at them now, their fight doesn't seem anything different from the previous spars. He's treating her like a child just like he did to the rest of us." The disciples were shocked when they realized this.
Senior Yuan is much more profound and powerful than I anticipated. I wonder what cultivation level he has achieved.
Seeing how he's handling Senior Bite with so little effort, he's definitely already a spirit master.
More like a spirit grandmaster. Yuro and Xiaojing thought to themselves after hearing their topic.
15 minutes later, White Lotus collapsed on the ground and said in an exhausted manner, I surrender."
"Thank you for the spar,"
Yuan said to her before reaching his hand out to her. White Lotus grabbed it with a defeated smile on her face. The disciples started cheering once again even though their faction leader had lost, as it was an entertaining spar, and they learned a lot as spectators.
"How much will it cost to hire you to train us?" White Lotus asked him in a somewhat joking tone after getting back to her feet. "If you come to the Dragon Spiral Mountain, I can train you guys for free." "Seriously?"
White Lotus did not expect such an answer and was taken aback by it.
"Yes.
We have plenty of room there, and it seems fun, like a collaboration of sorts between the factions."
He nodded.
"Then I will seriously consider your offer."
Sometime later, Fiery Queen showed up. "What are you guys doing?" "It looks fun." "You're still here? Why don't you leave already?"
"You have already achieved what you came here for, anyway,"
White Lotus said to her.
"I will leave when Yuan leaves," Fiery Queen said in a shameless manner. "Don't worry, I won't stay here for long,"
Yuan said.
"By the way, I have spoken to my family about our business.
They have agreed to it, so you can sell us information whenever you want. I'll contact you in a week or so. I'll be waiting." At the end of the day, Yuan said to Yuro, I have decided to leave after tomorrow. You're leaving already?
He nodded. If I make the Yu family wait too long, who knows what they'll do? Actually, they have been trying to contact me since your concert. I ignored all of them, though.
They can't do anything to me as long as I am a member of this faction, anyway. This is even more true now that White Lotus is aware of your real identity. Yu Ro chuckled. Yuan notified White Lotus about his leave the following morning. I see. So you're leaving already. It hasn't been that long since we met, but it feels like I have known you for years now. White Lotus said to him. Feel free to visit me whenever you want. Yuan smiled. And you're free to visit us whenever you want. Our faction will always have its doors open for you. That's good to hear. After spending the entire day with Yu Ro, Yuan also spent the last night sleeping with her. Don't do anything crazy when you get back, brother. Yu Ro said to them as they prepared to go to sleep. I will try not to, but it's going to be hard. As long as you don't do anything that will make you a criminal, I will be fine with it. Yuan silently nodded with a smile. The two of them fell asleep shortly after. The following morning, a good portion of the people at Eternal Lotuses gathered at the entrance to see Yuan and his group off. Yu Ro, Xiaojingyi, and White Lotus followed them all the way to the airport. When do you think I will see you guys again? Yu Ro asked them. I will try to visit you once a month. Yuan said. That would be great, but since I know that you're a busy man, let's not make any schedules and just see each other whenever we can. I will also try to visit you once in a while. Yu Ro said. Sure. Also, your birthday is coming up in 3 months, right? I will be the one to visit you then, so make sure you're free on that day. It's a promise. Yuan nodded. He then turned to look at White Lotus and said to her, see you later. Despite the slight inconvenience we had, I had fun the last few days. Me too. We should play together in Cultivation online sometimes. Of course. After saying their final goodbyes, the two groups hugged each other. Yuan's group boarded the plane shortly after while Yu Ro and White Lotus returned to the faction. Chapter 985, Returning to the Yu family. After boarding the plane, Zhu Liuxiang asked Yuan, so, what do you think of this trip? Exhausting, he sighed. Yu Ro. She knows about our relationship. Eh? Zhu Liuxiang's eyes widened with surprise. Really? Yes, she asked me about it during the night of her birthday, and I had no choice but to tell her the truth. I see. How did she take it? I honestly don't know. She seems okay with it, but she doesn't seem happy about it either. Yuan shook his head. That's tough. However, I kind of understand her feelings. I think. Zhu Liuxiang sighed, and she turned to look at Meisho and asked, what do you think? I also don't know. All I can say is that it's really complicated. Meisho also shook her head. Zhu Liuxiang raised her eyebrows since Meisho's words contradicted herself. If she doesn't know anything, why would she say it's complicated like she knew about it? However, Zhu Liuxiang decided to not ask her about it. Anyways, I'm surprised the Bai family allowed you to leave so easily. In fact, I was so sure that they'd try to recruit you. Yuan smiled and said, well, I'm really glad that they didn't. It wouldn't be easy to refuse them after all they've done for me and Yu Ro. The three of them proceeded to talk about their short and chaotic vacation for most of their flight. Meanwhile, White Lotus notified her father about Yuan's departure. I see. So he's gone. What about your relationship with him? Bai Mengyao asked. Honestly, while I will admit that I was too nervous to approach him, I also think it's a little too early for me to propose to him. Although I wasn't able to join his family, I think I've made great progress in our relationship. Once I am ready, I will ask him. White Lotus said. Nervous? You? Ha ha ha, Bai Mengyao laughed out loud. I never thought I'd ever hear such words coming from you. Shut up. I'm going to hang up now. I have some things that I want to discuss with you, Ro. All right. Let me know if you need anything. I will. A few hours later, Yuan's plane landed. Can you call your mother and let her know that we will be arriving at the Yu family soon? Yuan asked Mei Xiu.
She nodded and proceeded to call Mei Feng on her phone.
Hello? Yes, we have just landed. We should arrive at the Yu family soon.
No, we can get there by ourselves.
I understand. I will let him know.
After hanging up, Mei Xiu looked at Yuan and spoke. Apparently your parents are furious that you kept them waiting for so long. Yuan smiled and said, I know they're legally my parents, but let's not call them that for my sanity's sake.
By the way, Lulu, since the Yu family is only expecting Mei Xiu and I don't want to make things more complicated than it already is, can you wait for us to be done? They're pretty awful people, so I doubt you would want to meet with them either.
Chu Liuxiang chuckled, too bad I have already met with your parents. However, I was still from the Chu family at that time, so they had to be respectful to me.
Don't worry, I won't interrupt your family reunion. Go on and have fun without me. Thank you.
They took a taxi to the Yu family shortly after.
It's been a while since I have been to the city, so I am going to stroll around for a bit. Call me when you're done.
Chu Liuxiang said to them before going elsewhere.
Once Chu Liuxiang was gone, Yuan and Mei Xiu approached the Yu family's manor. How long has it been since I last seen this place? Feels like forever. Yuan looked at the scenery with a nostalgic expression on his face.
Even though his childhood was horrible, he still had some fond memories of this place. When they arrived at the front gate, Yuan could see a familiar figure standing inside. It's been a while, Miss Mei Feng.
Yuan greeted her with a smile. Mother. Mei Xiu nodded at her. Young master. Your eyes.
So it's true that you've fully recovered. Mei Feng covered her mouth after seeing that Yuan's eyes had regained its beautiful color. Even though she had seen the concert, she still doubted it. Where's the couple?
Yuan then asked her. They're currently inside, and it's not just them. Their lawyers and even some of the investors are inside, waiting for your arrival.
Mei Feng said with a worried frown on her face.
Wow, what a grand audience that they have prepared for us. I kind of feel bad for making them wait so long now. Yuan chuckled. Young master, I have to be honest with you. You should have just remained in hiding. Why did you show yourself so soon? Mei Feng asked him. I just figured that it's about time I stop hiding and confront my problems. Yuan casually shrugged. Don't worry, I am no longer the pushover they once knew. Let us in, Miss Mei Feng. I will handle the Yu family. Yuan said to her with a confident smile on his face. Mei Feng took a deep breath and released it a moment later. All right. She opened the gates from them and led them inside the Yu family's territory. Once inside, Mei Feng drove the two of them to the manor that was located about half a mile away. A few minutes later, when they exited the car, Yuan and Mei Xiu could suddenly feel many gazes staring at them. Yuan could see many people watching them from inside the manor. Most of them were servants working there, but a few of them were wearing suits. After entering the manor, Mei Feng led them to the audience room that is usually used for important business meetings. Upon opening the door, Yuan could see Yu Yong and Tang Li sitting at the end of a large table, and sitting beside them were a bunch of important-looking people that Yuan vaguely recognized. Yuan stepped inside the room without any hesitation and with a smile on his handsome face. I'm home, he spoke in a calm voice. Chapter 986, Confronting the Yu Family. Stay here with me. Mei Feng said to Mei Xiu in a low voice when she tried to follow Yuan into the room. She nodded and stood at the door with Mei Feng. Bang! Yu Tian.
Yu Yong slammed the desk with his fist and roared. How dare you make us wait this long for you? You should have came back the moment we called you. Yuan casually took a seat at the opposite end of the table where he could see everyone and said, I thought you wanted me out of the family, so why do you suddenly want me back so badly? You were the one who abandoned me. So what if we kicked you out of the house? You're already an adult. Tang Li sneered. An adult and a paralyzed cripple who couldn't move without the help of others, yet you still abandoned me. Enough. We didn't call you here just so you can bicker with your parents. Yu Tian, you have an obligation to continue working for the Yu family's company. One of the people there suddenly said. Yuan turned to look at him and asked with raised eyebrows, Who are you? I'm David Swanson, an investor and a manager at your father's company, and we're all here to make sure that you'll continue your obligation to your family. Father? He may have adopted me, but he's not my father. He's a disgrace to the real fathers out there that care for their own family. How dare you? Yu Yong fumed after hearing Yuan's insults. In fact, this is his first time being ridiculed by Yuan. I don't care about your opinions. He is still legally your father, and your contract is still in effect. Contract? What contract? I don't remember signing anything. Yuan said in a surprised voice. This is the contract. The man immediately retrieved a piece of paper and showed it to Yuan, almost as though he had it prepared beforehand. Yuan took a moment to read the contract that basically said that he was required to perform at least 2 concerts every week until he is 60 years old, and that all of the money he earns will be given to the Yu family. It was basically a slave contract that would work Yuan to the bones without giving him any in return. Yuan laughed out loud after seeing his signature on the paper. Seriously? You went out of your way to forge this nonsense? Sorry, but I don't feel like working for the Yu family, no matter what the contract says. Yuan casually ripped the contract to shreds and tossed it into the air. The entire room turned silent after his little bold action. Did you think that you would be able to escape from us by ripping that piece of paper? Tang Li suddenly sneered in contempt. That was only a copy. However, even if you managed to destroy the original, we have plenty of ways to make you submit. Oh? What do you have in mind? Please share with us. Yuan smiled. For starters, we can make your life miserable. No matter what job you decide to take, we have the power to fire you on the same day that you joined. Without having any sources of income, you'll have to start begging in the streets sooner or later. If I can't find an ordinary job, I can simply sell my music talents to other companies. I'm sure that they will accept me even if you threaten them. After all, I am worth a lot of money. Yuan shrugged. Or I can just play Cultivation online and earn money that way. The game is pretty popular, so I should be able to earn some decent money from it. That kind of threat is hardly a threat at all. He even chuckled. Tang Li narrowed her eyes at him and continued, We can easily throw you into jail and let you live the rest of your pathetic life there. Prison, huh? That doesn't sound too bad, considering that I already have plenty of experience being a slave for the Yu family. Tang Li gritted her teeth in frustration, feeling as though she was not dealing with the Yu Tian that she was so familiar with. What the hell happened to this bastard? It hasn't been that long since he started living without the support of our Yu family. How can someone change so drastically in such a short time? He's no longer the coward and pushover that we once knew. Everyone in the room realized that they were no longer dealing with the same person that they used to take advantage of. However, this didn't shake their resolve, and they continued to threaten Yuan. When nothing was working, Yu Yong suddenly stood up and shouted, That's it. I have had enough of this shit. Yu Tian. You will come back and start working for us again. If you don't, we will not punish you. Instead, we will make you bear the responsibilities. Yuan frowned after hearing this, which caused the people in the room to smile, as they realized that they just found his weakness.
You're going to punish your own blood because I refuse to work for you? What kind of parent are you? Yuan spoke in a cold voice. You can only blame yourself for pushing us this far. If you work for us, nobody will get hurt. Tang Li said with a grin on her face. Yu Rou is currently a member of the faction Eternal Lotuses, right? If we pressure their leader, Bai Lianhua, who is still young and inexperienced, she will definitely be kicked out of the faction. Once that happens, we can do whatever we want to her and there's nothing you can do about it. The people there increased the pressure on Yuan.
Yuan, Meisho stared at his face with a worried look on her face.
However, she was not worried about Yuan.
It was the others that she was worried about.
Yuan suddenly closed his eyes and took a deep breath. In the end, this is how things will go, huh? He sighed inwardly.
When he opened his eyes again, they were completely golden, and the atmosphere in the room immediately changed. And check out my other novel magic system in a parallel world while you wait for the next chapter. I will also be doing a rare gifting event where I will mass release depending on the amount of gifts for either novels. I don't usually do mass releases.
Surprise me and I will surprise you. Chapter 987, A Proposal.
When Yuan activated Dragon's Gaze, the atmosphere in the room changed, and almost as though the temperature dropped to below freezing, the people in the room began trembling non-stop.
Yo you! Well, what do you think you are doing? Yu Yong spoke in a trembling voice.
Even though Yuan used Dragon's Gaze, he didn't want these people to stop functioning, so he used the lowest output possible, but even then, most of these people could barely think under the pressure of the gaze.
I will say this again. The two of you are a disgrace as parents. When you look at people, you don't see a human, you only see a tool that you can abuse for profit. People like you are better off dead. Yuan spoke in a calm voice. However, even if you are the scummiest people on earth, you are still Yu Rou's parents by blood. I would love to kill you, but I do not have the resolve to kill her parents. With that being said, that does not mean I am going to let you go without any punishment. Ha ha ha. Did you just say that you want to kill us? You must be out of your damn mind. It appears that you have recovered your ability to move but lost your ability to think in the process. You will not get away with threatening us. We'll have you prosecuted.
Tang Li pointed her fingers at him and roared. But despite her brave words, her eyes were filled with fear, and her arm couldn't stop shaking.
You're going to prosecute me for threatening you when you've done the same thing just moments ago? Are you listening to yourself, you damn crazy bitch? What did you just call me?
Tang Li's body shook violently after being cursed out by Yuan. Meisho and Meifeng stared at Yuan's nonchalant face with wide eyes and slightly open mouths, seemingly in disbelief.
Are you deaf as well? I called you a crazy bitch, since that's what you are. Yuan casually repeated. Guards! I want you to break his fingers. Tang Li shouted in a fury. Two of the guards standing by the wall suddenly rushed at Yuan. Why?
Meifeng wanted to intervene, but Meisho suddenly grabbed her hand.
It's okay, she said in a calm voice.
Once the guards were close enough, they grabbed Yuan's arms and tried to restrict him. However, they immediately realized that they were unable to move him.
Get your hands off me. Yuan casually flicked his arms, sending the two guards flying.
The guards struck the wall with their bodies, creating a large crater in the wall before falling to the floor unconscious.
That was self-defense. Yuan calmly said afterward without moving from his seat.
The entire room fell silent after they witnessed what Yuan had just done.
They were both spirit warriors. How did he beat them so easily? What is his cultivation? Yu Yong cried inwardly. Ji Guor. Don't even bother trying to send more guards. You're just going to waste money on their treatment fees later, my money. Yuan interrupted Tang Li. What are you talking about? Tang Li frowned.
Let's get to the real reason why I came back today, he said with a smile. I'm here to get back everything that was taken from me, and that includes all of the money that I have earned throughout the years.
Ha ha ha. You're truly out of your damn mind. As if we'd agree to your nonsense. Tang Li laughed out loud. I'm not asking. I'm demanding for my money back. Yuan increased the intensity of his dragon's gaze.
Tang Li fell back to her chair the next moment from the intense pressure.
Why you're asking for the impossible, Yu Tian? Don't forget about your contract. The Yu family doesn't owe you anything.
In fact, you owe them money for being unable to work, which was part of you.
Yuan looked at the person who just spoke and narrowed his eyes. Can you shut up about the contract already? As if I give a damn about a piece of paper that you all forged. You can try to sue me if you want, but you might not be alive to do that.
I might not be able to kill you Ro's parents, but you idiots are different.
I can kill you right here and nobody will utter a single word about it. Ha ha ha. You have played too many video games. Do you really think you can get away with murder? This is not Cultivation Online. The man laughed out loud. Ah ha ha ah.
The man suddenly stopped laughing and began screaming when he felt a sharp pain in one of his legs. When he looked down, he could see the cause of the pain, a dagger stabbing into his thighs.
What just happened? Where did this weapon come from?
The man was both terrified and confused.
Mr. Jiang, this is my first and last warning to you. If you don't want that dagger in your head, then you should keep your mouth shut. In fact, why don't you just abandon the Yu family? Yuan suddenly thought of something and smiled.
This may be sudden, but I have a proposal for everyone here.
Stop supporting the Yu family or die.
Yuan swept the room with his gaze.
What?
They all exclaimed. After all, the real backbone of the Yu family are the investors.
Without you guys, they're basically powerless. Everyone present in the room were the Yu family's biggest investors and donors.
Without them, the Yu family will immediately lose over 90% of their power. Furthermore, since he couldn't kill Yu Ro's parents, he had to punish them using other methods, and this is just one of many that he has in mind.
You're fucking insane. As if we'd listen to you.
You're just a damn child with a few loose screws.
I see. If threatening to kill you is not enough to convince you, then allow me to give you another reason to abandon the Yu family. A mysterious smile appeared on Yuan's face.
And he continued, Player Yuan, I'm sure you've all heard of him.
What if I tell you that I personally know him and that I can set up a meeting with him for all of you? Will you stop supporting the Yu family then?
I'm sure you'll be able to profit more from Player Yuan than from the Yu family.
Chapter 988, Halting Their Support. Player Yuan? Are you serious? You know Player Yuan?
The investors there were doubtful for obvious reasons.
That's a load of bullshit. He doesn't know Player Yuan. He's just trying to mess with all of you.
Yu Yong slammed the table and shouted.
That's right.
There's no way a nobody like him could know Player Yuan when nobody even knows his true identity.
Tang Li also spoke.
The investors looked at each other. After a moment of silence, one of them said, If you can prove to us that you know Player Yuan, I will stop supporting the Yu family.
Mr. Zhou. What are you saying?
Yu Yong looked at him in shock.
Proof, huh? Sure, I can prove it to you that I know Player Yuan. Yuan nodded, still with a smile on his face.
However, before I give you proof, I'd like to talk about the other reason why I am here today. After deactivating his dragon's gaze, Yuan turned to look at Meifeng and continued to speak, Miss Meifeng, the Yu family will go bankrupt soon, so why don't you come work for me instead?
Ha! Meifeng's eyes widened with shock. Good luck with that.
According to her contract, she will work for us for the rest of her life unless she pays the contract cancellation fee of $50 billion. Even if we go bankrupt or become homeless, she will still have to work for us. Tang Li said with a wide smirk on her face.
If I don't give a damn about my contract with the Yu family, why would I care about hers? Yuan raised his eyebrows.
You can ignore your contract all you want, but that doesn't mean she will follow your recklessness.
Isn't that right, Meifeng?
If you ignore the contract and betray the Yu family, not only will you get in trouble, but so will your family.
Tang Li looked at her with a threatening gaze. Meifeng looked at Tang Li and then at Meishio.
She's right, young master.
I cannot ignore my contract. I have an obligation to fulfill my contract.
Please don't make things difficult for me or my daughter, Meifeng sighed.
I see. That's unfortunate, but there's no need for you to feel bad about it. Yuan shook his head.
If you cannot ignore your contract, then you can simply buy your way out of the contract.
Why, young master? I don't have $50 billion. Maybe not right now, but you'll have it soon. Yuan smiled at her. And if I help you acquire enough money to buy out of your contract, would you do so? It's fine, I don't actually want you to answer that question. Yuan suddenly interrupted.
He returned his focus to the people at the table and continued, Is there anyone here that can contact Chairman Li from the Cultivators Association?
What does he have anything to do with this?
They asked.
You wanted proof that I know player Yuan, right? Call him and you will get it.
After a moment of silence, one of the people there said, I will call Chairman Li. Once he dialed the numbers, everyone waited for Chairman Li to answer the phone. Several rings later, a voice resounded in the open speaker, This is Chairman Li from the Cultivators Association speaking.
Good morning, Chairman Li. This is David Swanson. It's been a while since we last spoke. Do you remember me? Of course I do, Mr. Swanson. Your donations to the Cultivators Association will never be forgotten. Anyways, how can I help you today?
You see, I have a friend here who would like to speak with you.
Do you mind sparing us a few moments of your time? Sure. I can spare some time. David Swanson looked at Yuan and nodded. Hey, Chairman Li, it's me. Yuan said out loud. Ha?
This voice is, Chairman Li immediately recognized Yuan's voice, especially since he'd heard Yuan speak just a few days ago at the concert.
What's going on? Did something happen between you and Mr. Swanson? Chairman Li asked in a worried voice.
When the people there heard Chairman Li's response, they all raised an eyebrow.
Something like that. Yuan said.
And he continued, I told him that I knew player Yuan, but he doesn't believe me and even asked for proof.
Can you, Chairman Li of the Cultivators Association, attest to my claims?
Of course.
Chairman Li immediately responded. Mr. Swanson. Can you hear me? I can. Listen to me very carefully, Mr. Swanson. I can confirm his claims. He really knows player Yuan. In fact, they're practically best friends. Whatever you do, you better not upset my friend.
Chairman Li said in a stern voice. Everyone in the room was shocked by Chairman Li's words. After snapping out of his daze, David Swanson spoke, Wait a second, Chairman Li.
It's not that I don't believe you, but do you even know who just spoke? He didn't even introduce himself.
I can recognize him by his voice alone. We have spoken to each other many times, after all.
He is Yu Tian, correct? That is correct, David Swanson muttered, not daring to believe his ears. Then I have nothing else to say to you. My friend Yu Tian, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call me, alright? I will talk to you later. Chairman Li hung up the next moment.
The entire room turned silent and nobody there would utter a single word for a whole minute.
Since I have received Chairman Li's words that you know player Yuan, I would like to ask you again, are you sure that you can help us meet player Yuan? David Swanson stared at Yuan with narrowed eyes. Of course. We can even meet him right after this if you want. He's currently in this city, after all. Yuan nodded. Seriously? If you can really get us to meet with player Yuan, I will stop our support for the Yu family. David Swanson said. Me too. Another one exclaimed. Soon, everyone in the room agreed to stop supporting the Yu family, leaving Yu Yong and Tang Li absolutely dazed. Chapter 989, Taking Away Their Cultivation. What are you guys talking about? Please tell me that you're all joking. Yu Yong spoke in a trembling voice after the investors for the Yu family agreed to stop supporting them. Even if you meet player Yuan, there's no guarantee that he will work with you. In fact, I am willing to bet all of my money that he won't. That is a risk I am willing to take. David Swanson said in a calm manner. Although he didn't mention it, he was actually afraid of offending Yu Tian anymore due to his relationship with Yuan. If they continue to offend Yu Tian, there is a good chance that they will offend Yuan as well, and based on the rumors around Yuan, he is not someone they want to offend even if they have to cut all ties with the Yu family. Furthermore, ever since Yu Tian stopped playing music for them, their profit had drastically decreased. The Yu family in its current state wasn't worth investing in, and these investors were already thinking about severing ties with the Yu family. If Yu Ro's birthday was even a week later, these investors would have stopped their support for the Yu family on their own accord. Now that you've lost all of your major supports, what are you going to do, mother? Father? Yuan looked at them with contempt, his gaze so cold that it made the two feel as though they had been tossed into the abyss. Why, you won't get away with this. All of you will regret this. Tang Li spoke with gritted teeth. Let's go. We're leaving. Yu Yong stood up. Where do you think you're going? Yuan's eyes turned golden again. And he continued in a cold voice, You're done here when I say you're down. Now, sit back down. An immense pressure suddenly fell on Yu Yong and Tang Li, causing them to fall into their seats. Don't forget, you still owe me money. I will let you keep 50 billion since that's how much Miss Meifeng needs to buy out of her contract, but everything else is mine. Ha ha ha. As if we'd give you any money. Tang Li laughed in a crazed manner. Yuan released a deep sigh. I didn't want to resort to this, but... He turned to look at Meishio and spoke, Can you make me some tea? The request was very sudden and unexpected, but Meishio instantly understood what he was trying to do. Sure. Mother, can you help me? It's been a while, so I forgot how to make tea. Meishio grabbed her hand and pulled her along to make tea. Meishio? What is going on? Meifeng asked her once they left. Who knows? She shrugged. Meanwhile, inside the room, Yuan turned to look at the investors and said, I no longer have any need for you all. Go to the Cultivators Association and wait for me there. You'll meet player Yuan by the end of the day. The investors were still doubtful of him, but they had no choice. They were clearly up against a monster, one the Yu family had created. Oh, right, before you all leave, I have one more question. What about the contract? What contract are you talking about? David Swanson asked with raised eyebrows. The one I signed with the Yu family. The investors looked at each other and laughed. We don't know what you're talking about. Such a contract doesn't exist. Yuan smiled after hearing their words and nodded, then I'll see you all later. Naturally, the contract existed, but the investors there knew what Yuan was trying to do, so they had no choice but to forget about the contract. Once all of the people in the room except for Yu Yong and Tang Li left, Yuan focused his attention on them. What do you think I should do with the two of you? He asked as he slowly approached them. Yu Yong and Tang Li wanted to run, but they were unable to move their bodies, almost as though they were chained to the chair. So the both of you have managed to reach the first-level spirit warrior. You must have worked hard to acquire such a profound cultivation.
It would be a shame if you were to lose it all at once. Yuan narrowed his eyes at them with a vicious gaze.
Why, you wouldn't dare? Yu Yong shouted. Do you really still think that I am the same person as before? If that's the case, allow me to open your eyes. No. Stop. Help me. Somebody.
Yu Yong roared when he saw Yuan's motions. Yuan ignored Yu Yong's cry for help and struck him in the chest with his palm.
Gah!
Yu Yong coughed out a mouthful of blood, and he could feel his cultivation being destroyed.
And no. 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 How dare you? My cultivation.
It took a moment for reality to sink in, but when it did, Yu Yong's face twisted in anger. He'd spent many hours and tons of money to improve his cultivation, and for it to all disappear in an instant, it tortured his mind and heart. Soon, you will also know what it feels like to lose everything. I took your power first, then it will be your wealth, and lastly, I will take your entire family from you, just like what you did to me.
Yuan turned to look at the terrified Tang Li next. Please. Wait. Spare me. I was wrong. Don't hurt me. I will do anything you want.
I can destroy Maything's contract and hand her over to you.
Please. I am still your mother.
However, Yuan's face turned even colder after hearing her words.
You dare call yourself my mother after everything you have done? The pressure in the room increased. Don't you ever dare call yourself my mother again.
Yuan shouted as he thrusted his palm into her chest, destroying her dantian.
No.
Tang Li could feel all of the spiritual energy in her body dissipate in the following moments. Yuan took a deep breath to calm himself down after destroying Yu Yong and Tang Li's cultivation. Meisho and Meifeng returned to the room with a cup of tea shortly after Yuan destroyed Yu Yong and Tang Li's to see blood all over the couple's mouth and clothes.
What in God's name happened here? Young master. What did you do?
Meifeng was terrified when she saw the scene.
Don't worry, I didn't kill them. I only destroyed their dantian, taking away their cultivation forever. Yuan said in a calm voice. Meifeng was speechless. What had happened to him since my visit a few months ago? He's changed into a completely different person. He's both ruthless and merciless. Meifeng cried inwardly. Yu Tian. You will not get away with this, Yu Yong muttered in a low voice despite the pain in his chest. Oh, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I am no longer Yu Tian, he said. Call me Yuan. That's my name now. What? Both Yu Yong and Tang Li turned to look at him with wide eyes filled with disbelief. Young master. You don't mean, Meifeng asked in a trembling voice. Yes, I am player Yuan, I have been since the very beginning. He nodded, confirming their suspicions. No way. Both Yu Yong and Tang Li began feeling emotions that they never experienced before after learning the truth behind player Yuan. Neither of them could have imagined that their own crippled son had been player Yuan all along. It was a shocking revelation that drove them to the brink of insanity. We'd been chasing after our own son this entire time? As this reality sank into their minds, Yuan spoke, I want all of my money except the 50 billion in this bank account by the end of the day. If I don't see the money by then, I will come back to completely cripple the two of you. And don't even try to stop me. There is nobody in this world that can stop me from taking back what is rightfully mine. Also, don't think I have forgotten about that time you hired people to kidnap Meisho. One by one, I will slowly return the debt. The two of you have abused me for years. I won't let my revenge end so soon. After placing his bank account information on the table before them, Yuan deactivated his dragon's gaze and started approaching Meifeng. Miss Meifeng, I have already paid them the 50 billion required for you to leave the Yu family. I won't force you to work for me, nor will I tell you what to do from this point forth, because you're free to do whatever you want from now.
Yuan took the cup of tea from her hands and drank it in one motion. Perhaps you had a dream that you wanted to fulfill, or maybe you wanted to do another job. Whatever it is, I hope that you can find happiness in your new life. If you ever need any help, you can always contact me. I am currently living at the Dragon Spiral Mountain with Meishio and my friends.
The Dragon Spiral Mountain?
That's the most exclusive territory in this country. The Yu family have been trying for years to move there.
Meifeng cried inwardly.
Meishio, let's go. I don't want to stay in this dump any longer.
Okay.
She nodded and followed him to the door. Yuan suddenly stopped at the door and spoke, "Oh, right. I don't really care if you reveal my identity as Yuan since I no longer have any reason to hide it, but if you do, let's just say that the public won't be very happy once they learn about Yu Tian's past."
Yuan and Meishio left the Yu family's manor shortly after.
Meifeng stayed in the room with Yu Yong and Tang Li for a little longer. After a long moment of silence, Meifeng bowed to them and said, "Despite all of the troubles you've caused me and others, I am still grateful towards the Yu family. Because of you, I was able to meet an amazing person like the young master, who I treated as my own son at one point. I'm sure that my daughter would agree with me, so I would like to thank you for that. However, it is time for me to leave the Yu family.
Once again, thank you for everything."
After giving them another bow, Meifeng turned around and walked out of the room. She immediately went to pack her necessities and left the Yu family shortly after. Sometime later, she took a taxi and disappeared somewhere.
Meanwhile, Yuan and Meishio regrouped with Chu Liuxiang. "Is everything finished?" Chu Liuxiang asked.
"No, it's not. However, I don't want it to end so quickly, so I am going to take this slowly,"
Yuan said. "Want to tell me about it?" "I won't force you if you don't want to," she then asked. "I'll tell you as we move." "Where are we going now?"
"The Cultivators Association."
"Huh?"
Chu Liuxiang raised her eyebrows.
"I have some people waiting for me there. You'll understand after you listen to what happened."
Thus, they started making their way towards the Cultivators Association.
Yuan would explain the situation to Chu Liuxiang on the way there. "I see.
So that's what happened.
What are you going to do to those investors? Don't tell me you're really going to work with them."
"Of course not. They're just as guilty as the Yu family for supporting them.
In fact, they might even be the root of the whole problem.
If they never approached the Yu family, perhaps they wouldn't have been so corrupted,"
Yuan said. "That makes sense.
The investors are usually the real masterminds, as they are always pressuring those they support for more profit, even threatening them. The Chu family had their fair share of trouble with them when I was there. That's just how the world works." Chu Liuxiang agreed with him.
"Yuan, do you think my mother will come with us?" Meishio suddenly asked with a look of uncertainty on her face.
"Who knows?" He shrugged. "However, I do hope that she works for us."
"Me too," she sighed. Chapter 991, Until the Interview.
At the Cultivators Association, Chairman Lee was surprised when David Swanson and the other investors suddenly showed up at his place.
"What the hell happened to you guys? Especially you, Mr. Jiang. Your leg seems to be injured." Chairman Lee asked them with a frown on his face.
"Ah, I fell down on my way here.
It's nothing serious,"
Mr. Jiang said with a stiff smile on his face. "Yu Tian told us to come here and wait for player Yuan to show up. He promised that he will let us meet player Yuan,"
David Swanson said. "Come to my room now. All of you," Chairman Lee said.
Sometime later, once they were in a private room and sitting down, Chairman Lee slammed the table in anger. "Tell me.
What happened between you guys and Yu Tian?" The investors were taken aback by Chairman Lee's sudden fit of rage.
"Calm down, Chairman Lee.
Why are you so angry?
Mr. Joe said to him.
Calm down? Do you idiots have any idea who you're messing with? We know.
He knows Player Yuan, so it would be a bad idea to offend him.
However, it's a little too late for that. Tell me everything. Chairman Li frowned.
The investors looked at each other, seemingly hesitant to tell Chairman Li about their involvement with the Yu family and Yu Tian. However, since they have somewhat dragged Chairman Li into this mess and angered him, they had no choice but to tell him. Even though they were all wealthy and powerful people, they did not dare to offend the Cultivators Association that was getting increasingly more influential and powerful at a rapid rate, not to mention their relationship with the government. Even before the investors finished telling the full story, Chairman Li was already fuming in anger, his body trembling non-stop. The investors were terrified when they saw this, and they wanted to stop, but they didn't dare to stop until they finished telling the whole story.
You fucking idiots!
Chairman Li shouted at them afterward.
Chairman Li, please tell us what you know. You clearly know something that we don't. David Swanson said to him in a pleading voice.
However, before Chairman Li could even say anything, someone knocked on the door.
Chairman Li. Someone claiming to be Player Yuan has asked for an audience. What? Player Yuan actually came?
The investors were pleasantly surprised.
Let him in. Chairman Li said.
The door opened, and 3 figures entered the room. The investors were puzzled when they saw Yuan. The thought that he was Player Yuan didn't even enter their minds.
Where's Player Yuan? You promised us that we'd meet him. One of them exclaimed.
Of course, and I have already fulfilled that promise. Yuan said with a profound smile. What are you talking? That person halted his sentence midway, and the entire room turned dead silent. Chairman Li suddenly stood up and bowed. How are you doing, Yuan? When the investors heard Chairman Li addressing him as Yuan, they all realized the truth almost simultaneously.
Why you're Player Yuan? That's impossible.
David Swanson exclaimed, his face filled with disbelief.
Don't tell me you're going to ask for proof again? I don't have the energy to deal with your nonsense anymore. These guys. Aren't you Mr. David? A familiar voice suddenly resounded. Yuan and everybody in the room turned to look at Chu Liuxiang. You know him? Yuan asked her.
Of course. I have seen him at the Chu family plenty of times.
She nodded. Why you are? Young lady Chu. What are you doing here?
David Swanson also recognized Chu Liuxiang after looking at her face closely. The other investors there also recognized her. As one of the most powerful and wealthy backgrounds in the country, it was only natural for these investors to approach the Chu family.
Is it weird for me to be here? Chu Liuxiang said. What about the Chu family?
Oh, I left the family long ago.
I am now part of his family.
She pointed at Yuan.
Seriously? You left the Chu family to be with Yu Tian?
People may know him as Yu Tian, but I have always known him as Yuan. Chu Liuxiang suddenly narrowed her eyes. Anyways, I heard about the situation from him.
So you guys are involved with the Yu family, huh? Why am I not surprised? The investors began sweating.
If even someone like Chu Liuxiang decided to leave the Chu family for him, there was no way they could refute his identity as Yuan anymore. Please forgive us, Yu Tian. No, Yuan. David Swanson fell to his knees and kowtowed to Yuan.
The other investors immediately followed. Ha 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 ha. Yuan suddenly started laughing. You want me to forgive you after everything that you've done to me? In your damn dreams.
The investors began taking steps back, distancing themselves from Yuan. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Once I am done with the Yu family, I will deal with you guys as well.
Deal with us? You may be famous, but do you have what it takes to handle us? You're just a damn child. What can you do besides threatening us with harm? Mr. Jiang suddenly shouted. Yuan smiled and said, I may be a child, but I can destroy all of you with a few words. Oh? I would love to see how you're going to achieve that. Yuan smiled and turned to look at Chairman Li. Chairman Li, can you prepare an interview for me? I'd like to speak with the world for a moment. Of course. I will have everything prepared in an hour. Yuan looked at the investors and spoke, I will give you all a chance to live a normal life. If you give me all of your money, I will forgive you. All of our money? You must be out of your damn mind. David Swanson shouted. Yuan shook his head and said, Don't be so rash. I'll give you until the interview begins to give me the money. Chapter 992, Removing His Mask. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. Since then, Chairman Li not only prepared the interview but also spread news that player Yuan will be the one doing the interview. When news spread, people from all over the city flocked to the Cultivators Association, filling up the square outside almost immediately. Wow, there's a lot of people, more than I anticipated. Yuan looked at the crowd outside through the window. What are you planning? David Swanson asked him in a nervous voice. Yuan smiled and said, You're right. I don't have the power to deal with you guys. After all, I am just one person who happens to be really good at a video game. However, what if I make those with power deal with you guys? He turned to look at the crowd again and continued, I wonder how many legacy families are in that crowd? I also wonder what they would be willing to do for me if I offer them divine rank cultivation techniques and divine grade treasures? Why, you're going to bribe them? The investors were in disbelief. No, I am only giving them a reward for helping me out. I guess you can even say that I am merely hiring them for a service. Once I give them your names, I wonder how long it will take for them to destroy you guys. Yuan showed them a cold smile. If divine grade treasures are not enough, I can even offer them ancient grade treasures. Ancient grade treasures? They exclaimed. In this world, besides Yuan, nobody has managed to acquire ancient grade treasures. In fact, besides a lucky few, even divine grade treasures are unobtainable. The investors there looked at each other with fearful looks on their faces. If Yuan was truly planning on bribing the public to destroy them, they would have no chance of survival. After all, even they would do everything in their power to help Yuan if they had the chance. Yuan, the interview is ready. You can go onto the stage whenever you want. Chairman Li suddenly entered the room and said, All right, I'm coming. Yuan wore a mask on his face before approaching the door. Wait. I am willing to give you all of my fortune. One of the investors there suddenly stepped forward and announced, Me too. I will also give you every penny in my bank account. Another stepped forward. In their eyes, even if they gave away all of their money, there was still a chance for them to earn more money. However, if Yuan successfully bribes the world to destroy them, they might not survive through the rest of the week. In the end, 4 out of the 12 investors there decided to hand Yuan all of their money in order to purchase his forgiveness. As for the other 8, they refused to believe that Yuan would be able to bribe the public, as that would destroy his reputation. No more takers? Alright, don't say I didn't give you a chance later. Yuan walked out of the room shortly after with Chairman Li. Once they were alone, the investors there argued amongst themselves. Why did you agree to give him all of your money? There's no way that he would be able to bribe the public. As if the other families would be that stupid to agree to such a thing. I'm not taking that risk. Even if he successfully bribes the public, he would immediately become the world's #1 enemy. A single person shouldn't be able to hold that much power. The others will crush him before he can crush us. While the investors argued, Yuan appeared in the square and stepped on a portable platform that had just been prepared. Look! It's player Yuan. Damn it. He's still wearing a mask. Is he the real deal or just a fake?
The chairman of the Cultivators Association is the one who organized this event.
I don't think they would do something like this if he was a fake.
The crowd murmured amongst themselves.
Hello, everyone. I am Chairman Lee of the Cultivators Association. First of all, I would like to thank you all for coming here on such short notice. Second, I would like to thank player Yuan for his participation despite his busy schedule. Chairman Lee took the microphone and spoke to the crowd. After talking for a few more minutes, Chairman Lee handed the microphone to Yuan. The entire place turned dead silent as they anxiously waited for him to speak. This was happening all over the world, as the interview was being broadcast to the whole world. After taking a deep breath, Yuan spoke into the microphone. Thank you all for coming today. Before I start, I would like to apologize for not appearing before all of you sooner, but I had a reason for hiding myself, and I am going to tell you all that reason today. Due to some family issues and health issues, I was unable to come out until today. I was born with a healthy body, but my body would stop functioning properly as I grew older. I lost my ability to see when I was only 7 years old. When I was 13 years old, I became a cripple that couldn't even get out of bed without the help of another person, and for the next few years, I would remain in such a state. I am currently 18 years old, almost 19, and I have been living in solitude for almost 5 years now, hence why I am only appearing in public now. The people watching Yuan's speech were left speechless after learning about his tragic life, and they all understood why he hasn't shown himself for so long. Wait. What the hell is he doing? What happened to bribing the public? Why does it seem like he's going to reveal his true identity? The investors watching from inside the Cultivators Association were shocked. Yuan continued speaking, now that I have completely recovered, I am going to celebrate by finally revealing my true identity to all of you today. Everyone watching swallowed nervously after hearing his words. Player Yuan is finally going to reveal his true identity? This is what everyone and their mother has been waiting for since the day of his first appearance in the form of an announcement in Cultivation Online. And without any hesitation, Yuan removed his mask, revealing to the world his handsome face. Chapter 993, Player Yuan's True Identity. After removing his mask, Yuan placed it on the table in front of him and stared at the crowd with a calm expression. It was almost as though the world was silent at this moment, as not a single sound could be heard from that location. Ha! That's Player Yuan? Doesn't he seem familiar? It's like I have seen him before. Some of the people there felt familiarity after seeing his face. Wait. I assent that you Tian? The legendary music prodigy who recently performed in a concert after disappearing for many years? I am sure of it. That's you Tian. I even watched his performance a few days ago. Someone there finally recognized Yuan's face and exclaimed, letting everyone there know of his identity. Yuan smiled and said, Indeed, I am that Yu Tian. The crowd became chaotic after this shocking revelation. Nobody there could have expected the mysterious player Yuan to be the missing child prodigy, Yu Tian. Shortly after Yuan revealed his true identity as Yu Tian, people from all around the world started contacting the Yu family. However, there was no response from the Yu family, almost as though they had suddenly disappeared. Sometime later, Yuan's voice resounded again, I am sure that some of you are trying to contact the Yu family even as I am speaking, but I must warn you, you're only wasting your effort. Why would you say that, Yu Tian? One of the reporters there asked him. Yuan glanced at the person who just spoke and responded in a cold voice, Don't address me with that name. I don't want to be associated with that family. The people there trembled after hearing his cold voice. Did something happen between you and the Yu family? Would you be willing to tell us about it? Another reporter there asked. Of course. That's why I am doing this interview. I am going to answer as many questions as I can. He nodded. Anyways, the reason why I don't want to be associated with the Yu family is because. Yuan proceeded to tell the whole world about how the Yu family had mistreated and abused him since he was a child, treating him as though he was a slave for their own profit. He told them about how the Yu family had adopted him only to profit from his talents. He told them about how they would force him to practice day and night without any breaks. He told them about how they forced him to sign an illegal contract when he was still a young child. He told them about how they abandoned him after he became a cripple and how they treated him like trash since then. When the world learned of all the horrible things the Yu family had done to him, everyone felt anger in their hearts, and they cursed the Yu family inwardly. After talking about all of the bad things the Yu family had done to him, Yuan started talking about the good things. He spoke about how his younger sister had sacrificed herself so that she could take care of him for many years despite being 2 years younger than himself. He spoke about a certain servant who treated him like her own child. Even though he wanted to drag the Yu family through dirt, he didn't want those who helped him to be dragged along merely because of their association with the Yu family, so he spoke about Yu Rou and Mayfoam, treating them as though they were his savior. This way, nobody would dare to mess with them even if they were associated with the Yu family. In fact, Yuan even publicly announced that if anyone were to mess with Yu Rou or Mayfoam, they would face his wrath. Brother, Yu Rou, who was watching the broadcast with Xiaojingyi and White Lotus, bawled her eyes out. Even though her own family had been exposed for their behavior and will soon be the public's #1 enemy, she couldn't help but feel as though a mountain had been lifted from her shoulders. Sometime later, Yuan said, although I want to blame all of my suffering on the Yu family, that wouldn't be fair, as they were only manipulated by the true masterminds. Oh no! This bastard is going to get us killed. The investors finally realized Yuan's true intentions, but it was already too late. Yuan proceeded to name the 8 investors that refused to renounce their fortune for his forgiveness and spoke about how they had corrupted the Yu family, even mentioning the companies they owned. Immediately after Yuan revealed their names, the named investors started getting phone calls from pretty much everybody on their contact list and more. Mr. Swanson. It's a disaster. Most of our investors and associates have just announced that they will stop supporting us and even demanded for their money back. At this rate, we'll go bankrupt. Mr. Jiang. Please. You need to do something. The legacy families are suddenly threatening to destroy us. What is happening? When the 4 investors that renounced their fortune for Yuan's forgiveness saw the results of their decision, they all sighed in relief, feeling as though they just dodged a massive bullet, even though they will soon be losing all of their money. Fuck. That fucking bastard. We're ruined. The 8 investors cried, but there was nothing they could do about the situation. However, Yuan wasn't done just yet. Although I cannot do anything against these people that have wronged me by myself, I would like to seek your help. If you can do something about it, please help me get justice. I will owe you a favor, you have my word. When the powerful families that have been wanting to recruit Yuan heard the last few words of his sentence, they all decided to help him. This guy is freaking brutal. Chairman Li was sweating buckets as he stood behind Yuan, realizing how lucky he is to not be Yuan's enemy. After dealing with the Yu family and the 8 investors, Yuan decided to answer some of the public's questions. I will now be answering any questions you may have. All of the reporters there immediately started shouting their questions. It was so chaotic and loud that nobody could hear a proper question being asked. Please calm down. Since everyone here seems to have a question, I will pick some of you. Yuan said. Once the place was quiet again, Yuan randomly pointed at someone in the crowd. The young man wearing a yellow shirt with a red heart. Do you have a question for me? Why, yes. Thank you for picking me. I want to ask, are you still playing Cultivation online? A lot of people seem to think that you've quit for some reason. Of course I am still playing Cultivation online. In fact, I intend on ascending to the next realm after I return home from all this. The audience were shocked to hear such news because if Yuan manages to clear the stairway to heaven,
the third heaven will be unlocked for all players.
Next question.
The young lady wearing a red shirt and blue jeans.
Yuan picked another person shortly after. Thank you for picking me. I would like to ask, what is your current cultivation in Cultivation Online and out here? Yuan smiled and said, in Cultivation Online, I am at the peak of Spirit Lord. As for my current cultivation, I am a Spirit Grandmaster. What? He's already achieved Spirit Grandmaster? Everyone watching was in disbelief.
If you don't believe me, then let me show you something. Yuan's body suddenly started hovering towards the sky, shocking everyone there, including Chairman Li.
He's flying? How is that possible? Is this a magic trick?
The reporters there asked him. Once you achieve Spirit Grandmaster, you can start learning something called Qi manifestation.
If you master this technique, you will be able to fly. This is also true in Cultivation Online.
Most people already knew that Spirit Grandmasters could fly without flying swords in Cultivation Online, but they didn't think it would also work in the real world. Once the crowd calmed down, Yuan continued to answer their questions.
An hour later, Yuan said, I will be ending the interview now. Thank you all for participating.
However, before leaving, he still had a surprise for everyone there. After taking a deep breath, he spoke into the microphone. In order to celebrate this occasion, I would like to host a little event, and anyone can participate in this event. 7 days from now, I will hide some heaven-grade treasures and even a divine-grade treasure in Spirit Heaven.
If you can find it, it will be yours. I will give you the general location of the treasures on the same day. Good luck, everybody.
Yuan walked away from the platform and entered the Cultivators Association with Chairman Li while the guards there blocked the reporters from bombarding them.
After returning to the room with the investors, Yuan looked around and asked, where are the others?
There were only 4 people left inside the room, and they were the ones who agreed to give Yuan their wealth.
They all left long ago. If you had mentioned my name during the interview, I would have left too. I see. Anyways, you have until tonight to hand me all of your wealth. If I find out that you didn't give me all of your money, I will do another interview. And don't even try running away because I will find you. Once you transfer the money, I don't want to ever hear from you or see you guys again. Do you understand me? Why, yes. We understand. They all shouted. Once Yuan handed his bank account to them, the 4 of them ran away. Now I don't need to worry about having no money for a while. Yuan smiled once he was alone with Chairman Li. You'll probably have enough for more than one lifetime with the amount of money you're going to be getting later. Chairman Li shook his head with a bittersweet smile. Thanks for your help, Chairman Li. This wouldn't have been possible without your help. I will be glad to help you at any time. If you need help again, you know where to find me. I will send you a location in 7 days. Go there and you will find something. No need to thank me. This is my way of thanking you. Yuan said to him. Thank, okay?
Chairman Li nodded with excitement. Sometime later, he flew away from the Cultivators Association since the outside was still flooded with people.
A few blocks away, he met up with Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Now that the entire world knows your true identity, what are you going to do?
Chu Liuxiang asked him.
The same as usual, he said with a smile. I still can't believe you actually went through with it. I wonder how the Yu family is doing now. I doubt they'll be able to survive after this scandal. They'll probably go into hiding. Meishio said. They can hide all they want as long as they give me back my money. Yuan said. Hey, Yuan, since we have some time now, let's go visit the orphanage.
Chu Liuxiang suddenly suggested.
The orphanage. Yuan repeated in a mumbling voice. Yes. It's not that far from here, too. Sure. Let's go. Yuan nodded with a smile.
They started making their way to the orphanage while the rest of the world talked about Yuan's interview today. Meanwhile, at Eternal Lotuses, White Lotus and the others were busy refusing people that were trying to get into contact with Yu after learning about her relationship with Yuan.
As for the Yu family, their headquarters was surrounded by people that were throwing trash among other stuff into their property.
The police did not bother stopping these people because they didn't receive any complaints, and they also wanted justice for Yuan.
Chapter 995, Orphanage. An hour later, Yuan arrived at the orphanage that he and Chulio Xiong used to call home.
Wow, this place looks worse than it does in my memories. Yuan was surprised by the poor condition of the place. Well, it's been over a decade since we lived here, and this place never had any money to begin with,
Chulio Xiong said.
And she continued in a sighing voice, even though the Chu family had offered to give them donations multiple times, they would always refuse it.
Why would they do that? I have no idea.
She shook her head. So this is where you two came from. Meishio was focused on the orphanage, as she considered this place as Yuan and Chu Liaxiang's true origins.
Let's see if they are still in service, Yuan said a moment later. They approached the Warren building and knocked on the door.
A few moments later, the door opened, and a middle-aged woman appeared before them.
How may I help you, fine ladies and gentlemen? The middle-aged woman asked them with a gentle smile.
Yuan's eyes widened when he saw this woman's face, and he muttered in a low voice, "Sister Ellis."
Is that you? HM? Do I know you, handsome young man? The middle-aged woman asked with a puzzled face. It's me, Yuan. Do you remember me?
I used to play the harmonica all the time for you and the other orphans.
The middle-aged woman's eyes widened with surprise after hearing his words.
She covered her mouth and spoke in a trembling voice, "Why, Yuan?
Is that really you? My God, you've grown into such a fine young man. I couldn't recognize you at all. Sister Ellis, what about me? Do you remember me?"
Chu Liaoxiang spoke next. Ellis turned to look at her.
Lulu? You look almost the same as the day you left. Your beautiful hair and hazel eyes, it's hard to forget about you even if I want to, especially since you were always the loudest one. She turned to look at Meishio next and asked, Were you also from this orphanage? Sorry, but I don't recognize you. No, I am not.
Meishio quickly shook her head.
I see. Anyways, what brought you two back to the orphanage? Ellis asked them a moment later. We're just visiting, said Chu Liaoxiang. How are you and the orphanage doing nowadays, Sister Ellie? If there's anything we can do to help, Yuan asked her. Unfortunately, the orphanage is no longer in service. In fact, we shut down just last week.
I am still here just to finish closing this place down.
What? The orphanage is no longer in service? What happened? Chu Liaoxiang exclaimed. Well, we ran out of money, so we can no longer operate. Seriously? My father told me that he'd tried donating to your orphanage, but you guys would always refuse. Is there a reason why, even though you clearly needed the money? Ellis sighed and said, The owner of the orphanage is a corrupt bastard. Any money that gets donated to this orphanage will be stolen by him, so I refused the Chu family's donation, as I don't want to give him any more money even if it means shutting this place down. Yuan and Chu Liaoxiang frowned after learning the truth. Who is the owner of this place? I want to have a word with him. Yuan said. What? I appreciate your thoughts, but there's no point in doing that. The orphanage is already closed. Furthermore, the owner sold it. This place will be demolished soon. There is nothing you or I can do about it. We won't know for sure until we try it. I made a small name for myself, so I should be able to help. Please, Sister Ellie. I don't want this place to disappear in such a manner. Yuan said in a dispirited manner. Ellie sighed. All right. I will give you the name of this person. Just don't do anything rash, okay? Of course. Yuan nodded with a smile.
Ellie handed him a business card that had all of the information they needed on it.
Thank you. Give me a moment while I make a call.
Yuan took the business card and proceeded to call Chairman Lee.
Hello, Chairman Lee. If you don't mind, I'd like to trouble you again. What happened? You see. Yuan began telling Chairman Lee about the situation and the owner's information.
How dare this scoundrel steal money from an orphanage that helps children?
Unforgivable.
Don't worry, I will make sure he's taken care of before the day ends.
Thank you.
After hanging up, Yuan returned to Ellis.
Sister Ellis, if you had the chance, would you become the new owner of this orphanage?
He suddenly asked her.
Well,
it's always been my passion to help those in need, especially children.
If I can manage the orphanage, I would definitely do it. Why are you asking? You will see in a bit. Yuan smiled. While we wait for the results, can we take a look around the building? He then asked. Of course. Yuan and the others followed Ellis into the orphanage shortly after.
The interior is exactly like how I remember, but it's a lot smaller.
Xu Liuxiang said.
You're much bigger now, so it's only obvious that this place would seem smaller.
Ellis chuckled at her silly remarks. Hey! Yuan! Do you remember this spot?
You would always sit on the table here and play the harmonica for us. Xu Liuxiang pointed at an empty spot that used to have a table.
I do, and you would always shake the table whenever you asked me to play another song. Yuan smiled.
Yuan and Xu Liuxiang would reminisce about their life as an orphan as they walked through the old and empty building. Shortly after their tour ended, Chairman Lee called Yuan to let him know of some good news.
I see. Thank you very much, Chairman Lee. I will return this favor in 7 days. Yuan said to him.
After hanging up, he turned to look at Ellis with a wide smile on his face.
Yuan. What's the matter? She asked in a nervous voice. Chapter 996, Personal Maid. I have some good news, Sister Ellis.
This place will no longer be demolished, and you will become the new owner.
Yuan relayed this news to her. What? How is that possible? What did you do? Ellis didn't dare to believe such good news.
I just called a friend who could help us.
But this place was already sold. How did they manage to convince the buyer? Who knows? He shrugged. What about the previous owner? What happened to him? He will be going to jail. What about the funds? Even if I own this place, if I don't have any money, that's also been taken care of. I will be donating some of my money to this orphanage so you don't have to worry about money for a long time. Why you? I don't want to put such a burden on you. It's fine. I won the lottery recently, so I have plenty of money. Yuan chuckled. Seriously? Ellis stared at Yuan's calm expression with a shocked face. Seriously? He confirmed. My God. By the way, there will be someone here later to help you get everything settled. They will also assist you until you can manage this place properly. Tears began pouring out of Ellis' eyes. Thank you. How can I ever repay you for this? You already have. Yuan smiled. Yuan and the others stayed with Ellis until the help Chairman Lee sent had arrived. Hello, I am Peter, and these people behind me are my team. We will be helping you get this orphanage back up and running as soon as possible. We will also teach you how to manage the place. The man leading the group introduced himself. Then we'll be leaving now, Sister Ellis. We'll come back later to check up on you. Yuan said to her. After saying their goodbyes and hugging Sister Ellis, Yuan and his group left the orphanage.
You're very lucky to have such a close relationship with him, Sister Ellis.
Peter said to her after they left. Huh? Why? You don't know? No. Peter proceeded to tell Ellis about Yuan's background, which greatly shocked her. Oh my. To think he'd lived such a horrible life after leaving the orphanage. But I'm really glad that he's managed to turn his life around. Ellis sighed. At the end of the day, Yuan asked Meishio, "What's the situation with our money?"
She looked at their bank account and said, "The 4 investors have already sent their money.
We currently have $122 billion in the bank. However, we haven't received anything from the Yu family yet." I see, Yuan sighed. Are you going back to deal with the Yu family? Chu Liuxiang asked.
Knowing them, they probably already fled the city and went into hiding.
He shook his head. So what are we going to do now? Look for them? It's already getting late, so I'm not going to bother. They can run, but they won't be able to hide forever.
We'll eventually find them, and when we do, Yuan's eyes glinted with a killing intent.
Meishio and Chu Liuxiang swallowed nervously. Let's go home for now, he said to them a moment later. Okay.
They took a taxi back to the Dragon Spiral Mountain. A few hours later, they arrived at the bottom of the mountain.
Welcome back, young Master Yuan. The guards outside the gates greeted him. Hey. We're back.
Young Master Yuan, there is actually someone waiting for you, one of the guards suddenly said to him.
Huh? Who? It's me, young master.
A familiar voice resounded beside them.
Yuan turned to look at this person. A smile appeared on his face when he realized her identity. Miss Meifeng. Are you sure? Yuan asked her.
Of course. It's always been my dream to work for you after you joined the Yu family, and this is still my dream, she said. After taking a deep breath, she bowed to him and spoke in a nervous voice, Young master, I would like to work for you.
Please hire me. I am even willing to work for free. Of course I will hire you. Yuan smiled. Thank you, young master. You will not regret it.
Mother, Meishio mumbled.
Meifeng turned to look at her next. You don't have to worry about me. Just continue living your life as usual, she said. Mother doesn't know about my relationship with Yuan yet.
Things will definitely become awkward later if I don't tell her soon, Meishio sighed inwardly. Meifeng followed Yuan and the others up the Dragon Spiral Mountain until they arrived at their destination. So this is the young master's current home, she mumbled in a dazed voice.
Let's go inside, Yuan said.
By the time they entered the building, the members of the Demon Ceiling faction were already waiting by the door to greet them.
Welcome back, everyone. I saw the news. I can't believe that you'd actually revealed your true identity to the whole world, Yuan. Shi Lang said. It was going to happen eventually, so I might as well do it sooner. Yuan smiled. Who is this beautiful lady? Wang Ming asked with his gaze looking at Meifeng. This is. Good evening, everyone.
I am called Meifeng, Meishio's mother, and I will be working here as the young master's personal maid starting today. She introduced herself before Yuan could even say anything.
Am Meishio's mother? No wonder why you look so familiar even though this is my first time seeing you.
The members of the faction were shocked by her identity. However, as excited as they were about meeting Meishio's mother, they were all wondering the same thing at this moment. Meishio is already Yuan's woman, yet her mother will be serving him as his servant.
Isn't this incredibly awkward? How will their relationship even work? Miss Meifeng, let me show you around the place. There are plenty of spare rooms so you can pick your own room, Yuan said to her a moment later. Okay. She nodded. Chapter 997, Room Inspection.
Once Mayphone left with Yuan to tour around the mansion, the rest of the people there turned to look at Meishio.
Meishio, now that your mother is here, are you going to be fine?
Wang Bingbing asked her.
She nodded, it will be fine.
She may be my mother, but I am an adult now, and we're no longer at the Yu family.
Nothing will change even with her presence here. Your mother seems like the serious type. She's like the complete opposite of you. Wang Ming said. She's very serious and strict when it comes to her work, but she is always perfect. It might take a while, but you will eventually get used to her. Is there anything we should be aware of about her? Like what might make her angry?
Meishio pondered for a moment before responding. If anything, she hates lazy people, I guess.
But I don't think any of you should worry about it.
She's working for Yuan now, so she will probably change just like I did.
While Mayphone followed Yuan around the mansion, she asked him, "What do you usually do nowadays, young master?" Miss Mayphone, do you think you can stop calling me young master? You're Meishio's mother, so it feels a little weird to be addressed in such a manner by you, not to mention that I am no longer a little kid. You're also no longer working for the Yu family. You don't need to be so formal. Things are really relaxed around here. Even if you say that, what am I supposed to call you?
I have called you young master for over 10 years now, and old habits are hard to change. Furthermore, even if I am not at the Yu family, I am still working for you.
Can't you just call me Yuan like everyone? That feels wrong to me.
I think I will continue to call you young master, after all. Yuan showed a bittersweet smile and said, "Your demeanor reminds me of someone I know in Cultivation Online, but she's much more easygoing than you, even a little silly at times. Anyways, to answer your question, I usually just train with the others in the morning before going into Cultivation Online."
That's it? Just training and playing video games? What about the instruments? Did you return to playing them? Occasionally, I play the zither. But other than that, I don't touch other instruments. Actually, I guess I also played the piano a couple of times for Euro. Do you have no intentions of returning to the world of music? Your talents. It really would be a waste.
Yuan pondered for a moment before responding. Now that the entire world knows Yu Tian and Yuan are the same person, I might do a concert once in a while to entertain my fans.
However, I don't intend on profiting from it. I want people to be able to enjoy my music without needing to worry about not affording tickets. That's just like you, young master.
Sometime later, Yuan showed Mayphone his room.
This is my room.
That room right there is Meishio's room.
Mayphone entered his room the following moment and immediately started inspecting it. Young master. This place is full of dust. Meishio. What does she do nowadays? Why isn't she cleaning your room?
Mayphone had a frown on her face as she looked at the little amount of dust on her fingers. Although Chulioshan cleans their room, she's not a professional maid like Meishio or Mayphone, so it was only natural that the room isn't sparkless.
Meishio doesn't work as my maid anymore. I have her handle the faction and the food.
Other than that, she trains with us and mainly focuses on her cultivation.
Young master, you cannot live like this. With this much dust in the room, you could easily get sick. Starting today, I will be cleaning your room every day. Mayphone declared.
Of course, the room wasn't as dirty as Mayphone made it sound, but even a speck of dust in the room is one too many for someone like her.
I'm going to see Meishio's room now,
Mayphone said after a quick inspection of Yuan's room. Normally, one would need permission to enter Meishio's room, but this was Mayphone, her mother.
Even Yuan didn't dare to stop her from entering.
A moment later, Mayphone entered Meishio's room and started her inspection.
At least she's keeping her own room clean. Mayphone couldn't find anything to complain about after the inspection.
The bed was neatly made, and the furniture in the room was sparkling clean. However, Mei Feng wasn't satisfied just yet, so she dug a little deeper, going into her clothes and such. A few minutes later, when Mei Feng reached Mei Xiu's bed, she noticed something was off and reached her hand underneath the bed mattress.
Yuan raised his eyebrows, wondering what she was doing. What's this? Mei Feng felt something like a box and pulled it out.
When she saw what was written on the box, her eyes widened with shock, and her hands even began trembling.
The birth control pills? Why the hell is she hiding such a thing? Mei Feng cried inwardly.
She turned to look at Yuan in a stiff manner.
Why, young master? Are you and Mei Xiu, by some chance, doing it? About that.
Yuan didn't expect for Mei Feng to find out about his relationship with her daughter so soon, but now that the cat is out of the bag, he might as well tell the truth.
Yes, we're partners.
We were going to tell you later when the time was right, but I guess there's no longer any need for that.
Yuan chuckled. Mei Feng turned to look at the box again. That girl. She really did it. A slight smile appeared on Mei Feng's face.
She returned the box back to its original place and said, "Don't tell Mei Xiu about this.
I want to hear it from her." I understand. He nodded. Chapter 998, Who is your first?
Mei Feng left Mei Xiu's room shortly after putting back her secret.
How long have the two of you been going out?
She asked him as they continued the tour around the mansion.
Not that long.
It started shortly after we moved to this place, he said.
Who made the first move? Mei Xiu. Is that so?
It appears that she's changed more than I anticipated.
And she continued, What about you, young master? What do you think of my daughter? I love her very much. Yuan said without any hesitation. Mei Feng smiled. Do you remember when I asked you the same question last time?
I do, and I was naive back then.
However, I have changed. I can see that.
Sometime later, after seeing the whole mansion, Mei Feng picked her own room.
I want to live in this room,
Mei Feng said as she stood at the door on the opposite side of Mei Xiu's room in the hallway.
If that's where you want to stay, I have nothing to say. Yuan nodded. Mei Feng moved all of her luggage into the room shortly after.
When Mei Xiu learned that her mother will be living in the room across from her, she felt a little nervous and worried because that could affect her nighttime activities with Yuan. Everyone in the building gathered at the dining room later. Starting today, as the head maid of this place, I will be taking care of breakfast and dinner and cleaning the mansion.
Although I am the young master's personal maid, if you ever need any help, don't hesitate to ask. As for your laundry, I will be doing 2 to 3 people a day throughout the week. If you wish to do your own laundry, just let me know. Thank you, Madame Mei Feng,
the others said to her. The members of the Demon Ceiling faction proceeded to introduce themselves to her one by one. Sometime later, everybody went back to their own rooms to rest as it was getting late.
Yuan and Mei Feng stayed up a little longer to chat. What happened to the Yu family afterward? Do you know? She asked him. They ran away, and they still owe me my money. Yuan smiled.
Who could have imagined that something like this would happen, she sighed.
This is karma. They deserved it. By the way, there is still something that I need to tell you, Miss Mei Feng. It's about Cultivation Online and our world. Yuan proceeded to tell her about the truth with Cultivation Online and their world. Seriously. This sounds like something straight out of fiction. Mei Feng was in disbelief.
I know, but trust me, it's true.
Have you ever played Cultivation Online? He then asked. No, I never had the time. Your cultivation is also very low. What cultivation technique are you using?
Something the Yu family gave me.
Yuan pondered for a moment and said, I'm going to get you a new cultivation technique that is far more powerful.
Fortunately, you didn't progress that far in your cultivation, or it will be very difficult for you to suddenly change cultivation techniques. Also, I want you to focus more on your cultivation starting now. It's going to be very important in the future. I will do as you say, young master. Meifeng nodded. Once Meifeng retired to her room, Yuan also did the same. Does Meishio's mother know about our relationship? Xu Liuxiang asked him in bed. Not ours, but she knows about Meishio and mine. I'll tell her when the time is right. All right. Let's go to sleep. The following morning, Yuan was woken up by the sound of someone knocking on his door. Young master, I am going to start clearing your room now. You can continue to sleep if you want. Meifeng's voice resounded. Ha! Wait, Yuan tried to stop her. However, Meifeng had already opened the door and entered the room with her cleaning supplies. Why, young master? What is the meaning of this? Meifeng was shocked to see Chu Liuxiang sleeping beside him on the same bed. Yuan rubbed his eyes and sighed, Sorry, Miss Meifeng. I should have told you this earlier. This is Chu Liuxiang. She's also my partner. Meifeng stared at him with wide eyes as she tried to comprehend the situation. You have two partners? She eventually understood the situation and asked for confirmation. Yes. I've known Chu Liuxiang before I even came to the Yu family. She was at the same orphanage as me. I see, Meifeng mumbled. You're not mad? Yuan raised an eyebrow. Why would I be mad? Because you're dating two women at once? Because you thought I would think that you're betraying Meishio? Something like that. I think? Meifeng shook her head. You're mature enough to know this, so I will tell you. Meishio was raised to be nothing more than a servant for you. So the fact you accepted her as your partner is already more than I can ask for, and it's not weird for influential people such as yourself to have more than one wife. Of course, Yuan already knew this because Meishio had told him before. Anyways, I am going to start cleaning your room now. I won't make much noise, so you can go back to sleep if you want. Meifeng said to him as she started cleaning his room. I don't think I can go back to sleep anymore, so I will just wake up, he said with a smile. While Yuan changed out of his pajamas, Meifeng suddenly asked, By the way, young master, I have a question. What is it? Who was your first? Meishio or Chu Liuxiang? Meishio, he said in a low voice. I see. Meifeng didn't say anything else and continued to clean his room, but there was a small smile on her face now. As for Chu Liuxiang, she was still sound asleep. After cleaning his room, Meifeng proceeded to clean the bathroom. Meanwhile, Yuan went to do some light training. Li Jinsi showed up shortly after to train with him. Eventually, everyone was in the training field. Chapter 999, New Member. After training, everyone gathered in the dining room, where breakfast was already prepared by Meifeng. Wow! Did you really cook all of this by yourself? Wang Ming asked with a dazed look on his face as he stared at the table that was filled with many different dishes for breakfast. This seems like something that requires a full team of chefs to achieve, Wu Zhao mumbled. You're more amazing than I thought, Madame Meifeng. Wang Bingbing praised. If I cannot do this much, then I am not fit to be with the young master. Meifeng spoke calmly. They started eating the food shortly after. God! This is so freaking good. This is even better than what that old man at the silver restaurant back home makes. Shi Morong exclaimed as he stuffed the food inside his mouth. The demon ceiling faction emptied all of the dishes on the table in less than half an hour. After breakfast, Meifeng took all of the empty plates and went to clean them. Meishio, is Xiuying almost here yet? Yuan asked her. Yes, she texted me an hour ago that she was on her way here. Meishio's phone suddenly started ringing. After seeing the caller, Meishio said, Speaking of the devil. This is Meishio, she answered the phone.
I understand. We're coming out now. Meisho hung up a second later and said to Yuan, she's outside right now. Great. Yuan stood up and said, everyone, our new member is here. Let's all go greet her. Oh. To have two new residents back to back, it seems like the Demon Ceiling faction is finally growing. Wang Ming said.
Sometime later, they went outside to greet the newest member of the Demon Ceiling faction, Wang Xiuying.
Hello, Xiuying. Welcome to our humble home. Yuan greeted her with a friendly smile. You call this place humble?
Wang Xiuying stared at the mansion behind him with a dumbfounded look on her face. After snapping out of her daze, she introduced herself to everyone there. Good morning, I am Wang Xiuying. I used to work in my grandfather's hospital, but I am now here.
If you need any medical attention, just let me know. I am also an alchemist in Cultivation Online, so I can also concoct pills for you guys. The members of the Demon Ceiling faction introduced themselves after her introduction. Nice to meet you all. Let me show you around. You can leave your luggage inside for now.
Yuan said to her afterward.
Okay.
Once Wang Xiuying left with Yuan, the others started talking about their new member.
Wow, she's really pretty. As expected of Yuan. Wang Ming said. She seems very energetic, too. Wang Bingbing added. Do you know anything about her, Meisho? They asked her next.
Yes, her grandfather took care of Yuan when he was bedridden. After we left the Yu family, she took her grandfather's place and took care of Yuan for a while.
She's a good friend. What about their relationship? Is she also his partner? Hong Xiuquan asked out of curiosity. They don't have that kind of relationship.
However, Wang Xiuying admires Yuan a lot, and she even claims to be his #1 fan.
Meisho shook her head.
Well, now that she's living with him, it probably won't be long before things happen.
Shi Lang shrugged. Meanwhile. Wow, this place is so much nicer inside.
Not even 5-star hotels can compare to this. Wang Xiuying mumbled as they walked around.
Yes, it's a nice place. We're lucky to live here. Yuan smiled.
After walking for some time, Wang Xiuying suddenly said, by the way, I saw your interview.
What did you think of it? He asked. I don't know how to say it.
I felt angry at the Yu family for what they've done to you, but I am also relieved that you finally exposed them.
How are they doing right now? I don't know, they ran away and hid somewhere. He shrugged. I'm not surprised.
They suddenly became the most hated family in the entire world, after all.
Also, did you regain your vision?
Your eyes regained their color, and it feels like you can see me with your eyes, not your divine sense.
Yes, I regained my vision.
Wang Xiuying sighed after hearing his words, and then she said, Oh, don't misunderstand.
I am happy for you, but I have always dreamed about curing your illness. Thank you, Xiuying. Your thoughts are enough. However, I don't think you can call it an illness. I think it's more of a curse than anything.
Curse? Wang Xiuying raised her eyebrows. I know it sounds crazy, but I have something to tell you later.
It's very important.
Sure. Once their tour was finished and Wang Xiuying picked her room that was on the same floor as Yuan's room, they sat down to drink some tea made by Meifeng.
Miss Meifeng? What are you doing here?
Wang Xiuying was surprised to see her there. I am now working for the young master, she gave a quick and brief explanation.
I see.
As they enjoyed the tea, Yuan explained the situation with Cultivation Online to her.
What? Our soul?
Wang Xiuying was shocked after learning the truth. Yes, so you shouldn't go too crazy in Cultivation Online, and try your best to not get hurt.
Any damage done to your soul is incredibly severe. I understand.
I will be less reckless with alchemy now that I know there are real risks to getting hurt, she swallowed nervously. Sometime later, Wang Xiuying went to her own room to organize her luggage.
Meanwhile, Meishiu approached Meifeng.
Mother, I need to speak with you privately whenever you're available.
Meet me in my room in an hour, Meifeng said. Okay. An hour later, Meishiu knocked on the door to Meifeng's room. Come inside.
After entering the room and closing the door behind her, Meishiu looked at her mother with a calm but serious expression. There's something I need to tell you, and it's about my relationship with Yuan.
Chapter 1000, Mother and Daughter. I'm listening,
Meifeng said as she stood in front of Meishiu. Meishiu took a deep breath before speaking. The truth is,
I am currently in a romantic relationship with Yuan.
Meishiu stared at her mother's face to see her reaction. However, to her surprise, Meifeng's facial expression remained unchanged, seemingly unfazed.
I see. Congratulations,
Meifeng said to her in a calm voice a moment later.
Why, you're not surprised? Meishiu swallowed nervously. Why would I be? I knew that it was going to happen eventually.
Is that so? Meishiu was a little disappointed by her mother's lack of reaction. She thought she would be able to surprise Meifeng, but alas, that did not happen.
That's all I have to say. Meishiu turned around and began walking towards the door. However, Meifeng stopped her. Where do you think you're going?
You may have nothing left to say, but I haven't said anything yet. Meishiu halted her movements and walked back to her original spot.
Let's sit down first. The two of them went onto the balcony and sat down before each other.
Once they were seated, Meifeng spoke. I want to hear about your relationship with the young master.
Start from the beginning. The beginning? Meishiu raised her eyebrows in a questioning manner, as it was too vague. Start from the day you left the Yu family with him. Meifeng clarified. Okay. She nodded.
Meishiu proceeded to recall her experience with Yuan from the day they left the Yu family all the way until the present day. After telling Meifeng everything, Meishiu did not stop and continued. There's something else you should know about.
Yuan has another partner. Chu Liuxian, right? Meifeng said. Ha? You knew about it? How? I learned about it this morning.
In fact, I already knew about your relationship with Yuan since yesterday when I found the birth control pills hidden under your bed.
What kind of sloppy hiding spot is that?
Meifeng revealed the truth to her.
You searched my room?
Meishiu was speechless.
No, I inspected it. I wanted to make sure that you weren't slacking.
Unbelievable, Meishiu became silent. A moment later, Meifeng spoke. Let's get to the main topic.
Main topic? Yes. I want to know your plans. When are you going to bear his children? Bear his children?
I am still too young for that kind of thing.
Meishiu exclaimed. Too young? You're already an adult.
A lot of ladies from influential families start their own family at your age. In fact, I got pregnant with you at that age, too.
Seriously? Meishiu couldn't believe her ears. Meishiu, listen to me.
If you want to remain relevant in the family, you must bear his child. The young master will definitely accept more women into his life in the future, and when that happens, he will have less time for you. I am well aware of that, and I will eventually bear his child, but that time is not now. It's too soon, not to mention the situation with Cultivation online.
Well, it's not like I am forcing you to bear his child. I am merely giving you advice as your mother. In fact, you'll probably become pregnant by accident anyway. What? Why do you sound so confident about that? Because birth control pills are not perfect.
Although the chances are slim, it's not impossible for you to become pregnant even if you take the pills, especially since you're not wearing rubber when doing it with him. Meishiu swallowed nervously after hearing her mother's words.
Will she really get pregnant by accident?
Mei Feng then continued, I don't know much about Chu Liuxiang, but she seems like a bold girl. She'll probably get pregnant before you at this rate if she's not already pregnant.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm leaving.
Mei Xiu stood up and quickly left the room. She may have matured, but she's still a child at heart. Mei Feng shook her head inwardly.
Meanwhile, Yuan entered Cultivation online.
Welcome back, young master.
Good morning, brother Yuan. Hey, I am finally back. Sorry to keep you all waiting, we'll start climbing the stairway to heaven soon. I have one last thing to do before then. Yuan flew around spirit heaven and started hiding treasures in random places. What are you doing, young master? Feng Yuxiang asked him in a puzzled voice.
I'm hosting an event where I hide treasures for people to find, he calmly explained.
Feng Yuxiang was speechless.
She had tons of questions, but she didn't dare to ask them.
While Yuan hid treasures around the world, the internet was going wild about the event.
Player Yuan is hosting a massive event.
A chance to acquire heaven-grade treasures for free. Player Yuan's real identity has finally been revealed. Yu family scandal. Pretty much the entire world was talking about Yuan's interview yesterday as well as the Yu family scandal. At Eternal Lotuses, their front gate was swarmed with people trying to interview Yu Rou. Senior Bai, I would like to do an interview of my own. Yu Rou approached White Lotus with this request. Huh? Why? White Lotus asked. I just think it's the right thing to do. I can't stay silent forever. I will also let the world know my side of the story, she said. After pondering for some time, White Lotus agreed to Yu Rou's request, and the interview was scheduled to start in 4 hours. News of Yu Rou's interview started spreading like wildfire after White Lotus revealed it to the reporters outside their faction. 4 hours later, Yu Rou started her interview, and she told the world about her experience with the Yu family, confirming everything that Yuan had said during his interview. Yuan watched the interview later that evening with Mei Xiu and Mei Feng. That little girl. She's growing up so fast, Yuan said with a sweet smile on his face. She handled it well. I haven't seen her in a while, but she's definitely matured a lot. Mei Feng said in a praising voice.